Hi, I'm Maria. I'm a successful real estate agent, and I've always been good at seeing value, not just in houses, but in relationships too. My husband, Tom, and I were lucky to inherit a beautiful vacation home by the lake. It was quiet, peaceful, and the perfect escape from busy city life and, to be honest, from my in-laws. Tom's parents never really warmed up to me. They came from a more traditional background and often made small, passive-aggressive comments about my career and my modest upbringing. A real estate agent, always trying to sell something, they'd joke, but I knew there was more to their words. This house wasn't just a building for us, it was our haven, where we shared laughter during family get-togethers and found peace on our own. But as Tom's parents got older, they started asking us to sign the house over to them. We need to make sure it stays in the family for future generations, they said one night at dinner. The room felt tense, and I could sense the pressure in the air. But it is staying in the family. Tom and I are your family, aren't we? I asked, trying to stay calm even though I was getting frustrated. Yes, Maria, but you know what we mean. It's about securing the family legacy, Tom's father replied, his tone leaving no room for debate. The tension was almost too much to bear. Tom, bless him, was torn. He wanted to make his parents happy, but he hated how it was affecting our marriage. We spent many nights talking about what to do. Stress etched on both our faces. Why do they have to make everything about business? I asked him during one of those late-night talks. Tom sighed deeply, a sound that said more than words ever could. It's how they've always been, Maria. It's not just about the house, it's about control, he finally said, sadness in his eyes that matched my own. It wasn't just what they said, it was how they acted. Every time they visited the house, it felt like a game. They would drop hints about the future of the property. During one particularly blunt conversation, Tom's mom said, "You two don't need such a big place. Think about the family. Think about your brothers." Her words hurt. It wasn't just that she implied we didn't deserve the house. It was that she seemed to be saying we weren't enough of a family ourselves to keep it. That's not fair, I found myself saying. We love this home just as much as you do. Why isn't that enough? It was clear now that this wasn't just about a house. It was about respect, boundaries, and where family loyalty ends and personal independence begins. Look at this, David, I said, showing him emails between Tom and his parents. They've been planning this for months, trying to pressure me into signing over the deed. You're kidding me, David replied, shocked. That's low, even for them. So, what's your plan? I don't know yet. I'm so angry, I can't even think straight, I admitted. Okay, let's not rush. There are ways to handle this. Maria, ways to make sure you stay in control. Have you thought about selling the house? Just end it all and sell it to someone else. Can I do that without Tom agreeing? I asked. If both your names are on the deed, you'd both need to sign off on a sale. But maybe it's time Tom realizes what his parents' manipulations are costing him. You think he'd go for it? It might be the wake-up call he needs. Otherwise, you'll keep being painted as the villain in their story. That evening, back at home, I couldn't shake the cold feeling of betrayal. It felt like it was seeping into our home, our supposed safe place. When Tom came home, I confronted him. You and your parents have been planning behind my back. How could you, Tom? It's not like that, Maria, he replied. They're just worried about the future, about stability. Stability or control? This is our home, Tom, our future. Why am I only hearing about this now? I was going to talk to you, I swear. They just have a way of pushing until I give in. And what if I don't give in, Tom? What then? Your parents gave me an ultimatum today. Sign over the house by the end of the month or face the consequences. What consequences? Tom asked, startled. I don't know, they didn't say, I replied. They didn't what, Tom? Are they threatening to cut us off? To come between us? I don't know, Maria, I just know they're serious. The next day, I met with David again, feeling the weight of the ultimatum pressing on me. Your in-laws are playing dirty, that's obvious. If you sell, you can avoid their threats altogether. Let's weigh the pros and cons. This is about more than just a property, this is about your independence. You're right, I sighed, but I hate that it's come to this. It feels like I'm being pushed out of my own life. That's why you need to take control again, David said. Maybe it's time to show Tom and his parents that you won't be bulldozed. That evening, Tom tried to patch things up, but the gap between us had grown, strained by the secrets and scheming. Maria, please, he said, let's just talk. We can find a way to make everyone happy. Can we, Tom? Because it seems like your parents' happiness comes at the cost of mine. It's not like that, he insisted. They just want what's best for all of us. And what about what I want? Doesn't that matter? I asked. You know it does, he said, frustrated, but they're my parents. We can't work something out like this, Tom. This is our life, not a business negotiation. I need to think about what's best for me too. Maybe David is right. Maybe selling the house is the only way to take back control. Sell? Maria, you can't be serious. I've never been more serious, Tom. I won't be backed into a corner, not by your parents, not by anyone. Maria, please. No, Tom, it's time I made a decision that's right for me, I said, my voice steady. I'm going to think about all my options and do what's best for me. I hope you can understand that. As Tom stood there, stunned, I felt a mix of fear and determination brewing inside me. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear, I wasn't going to be anyone's pawn anymore. At the dining table, the air was thick with tension. We all knew why we were here. We all know the reason for this meeting. I began, looking around at everyone. The table had seen happier days, but today felt different. Tom looked anxious, his parents expectant. Before I could continue, Tom's father spoke up. Before we proceed, we want to make sure this transition goes smoothly for everyone. I nodded, placing the stack of papers in front of me. I've thought about this long and hard. This isn't just a transaction, this house is part of who we are. Exactly, Maria, his mother chimed in, a thin smile on her face. It's for the family, for the future of our grandchildren. I glanced at Tom, who was staring at the table. Tom, do you have anything you want to say before we continue? He shifted uncomfortably. I just want what's best for us, for our family. And what is best, Tom? I asked softly. He hesitated. I think keeping the house and the family is the right thing to do. It's what my parents want. Taking a deep breath, I leaned forward. Well, there's been a change of plans. Tom's father frowned. What are you talking about, Maria? The house, I said, my voice calm but firm. It's already been sold. The room fell into stunned silence. Tom's eyes snapped up to meet mine. Sold? His mother gasped. To whom? When? To a charitable organization. They plan to turn it into a retreat for underprivileged families, I said, sliding the proof of sale across the table. Tom's father's voice rose. How could you do this without telling us? I had my reasons, I replied firmly. This house was as much mine as it was Tom's. I couldn't let it be used as a tool for manipulation any longer. We never, his mother began, her face flushed. Please, I cut her off. I've seen the emails, the plans. I felt the pressure. This was the only way I knew to protect what was ours, what was mine. Tom looked torn, his voice pained. Maria, why didn't you talk to me about this? I wanted to, but every time we spoke, it felt like your parents' wishes came first. Just then, the doorbell rang. I stood to answer it, letting in Miss Johnson, the representative from the charity. She entered with a calm presence. Good afternoon. I'm here to discuss the future of the property, she said, extending her hand to Tom's parents. Tom murmured, still in shock. We had no idea it would come to this. Miss Johnson smiled warmly. We plan to honor the spirit of this home. Families in need will find peace here, just as you did. I hope you can see the good in that. Tom's mother looked between me and Miss Johnson, her sharp demeanor softening slightly. And our son, our family. I believe this is a new beginning for all of us, I replied, a mix of relief and defiance in my voice, one where we respect each other's decisions and boundaries. Tom stood and came to my side. I need to think about all this. Maria, can we talk? Of course, I said, hoping this crisis could finally begin to heal the rift between us. As Miss Johnson explained the charity's plans for the home, I caught Tom's eye. There was a flicker of understanding, maybe even gratitude. It felt like the first step toward healing. The meeting ended with promises to communicate better. While the reconciliation wasn't complete, the house felt lighter, its walls ready to embrace a new chapter. The echoes of that meeting stayed with me in the following weeks, a constant reminder of the seismic shift in our family dynamics. As I faced the backlash from Tom's parents and their circle, Tom became my greatest support. One evening, while we sat among boxes in the old vacation home, packing up memories, Tom broke the silence. This isn't just about the house anymore, is it? No, I replied, sealing another box with tape. It's about setting boundaries, Tom. It's about respect. Tom sighed, the weight of everything finally sinking in. You were right, Maria. My parents, they went too far. I see that now. The realization wasn't easy for Tom. His loyalty to his parents clashed with his love for me, but the support he showed by standing by my side through the storm marked the start of a new chapter for us. In the weeks that followed, Tom's parents had to face the consequences of their actions. Word of their scheming and the sale of the house became public, damaging their reputation. Humiliated by their own greed and the judgment of others, they were forced to retreat, dealing with their shame in private. As I look back on everything, the challenges we faced and the victories we achieved, I understand the importance of standing firm in one's values. Selling the vacation home, while filled with conflict, was necessary for us to reclaim our independence and redefine our lives on our own terms. Thank you for following my story. Remember, standing up for yourself isn't just about asserting your rights, but also about choosing your own path and valuing your self-worth. Here's to new beginnings and personal victories. How would you handle toxic family pressures while keeping your boundaries strong? Feel free to share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of life, struggle, and triumph.
I always thought anniversaries were sacred, like tiny temples built from shared memories and promises. That's why finding the receipt for a $2,800 Cartier bracelet in my husband's jacket pocket didn't immediately strike me as odd. Our 10th anniversary was approaching after all. But then I saw the gift note scrawled at the bottom. Happy birthday, Eleanor. All my love, Kay. I'm Zuriel, and this is how I discovered my husband was living a double life. The receipt trembled in my hands as I stood in our walk-in closet, surrounded by the life we'd built together. 10 years of marriage, countless shared dreams, and one devastating piece of paper that was about to shatter it all. Honey, have you seen my blue tie? Cade called from downstairs. The one with the diagonal stripes? I quickly tucked the receipt into my pocket. Check the laundry room, I managed to reply, proud that my voice didn't crack. My phone buzzed. A text from Alexandra. Still on for coffee? You're late. I grabbed my purse and car keys, needing to escape before I completely fell apart. Going to meet Alex? I shouted, already halfway down the stairs. Wait, weren't we supposed to discuss something today? Kate appeared in the foyer, looking puzzled. I stopped at the door, my hand on the handle. You tell me. He ran his fingers through his hair, his classic tell when he's lying. I'm sure it'll come to me. Have fun with Alex. 20 minutes later, I sat across from Alexandra at our favorite cafe, the receipt spread between us like a murder weapon. That son of a bitch, Alex whispered, her coffee untouched. Eleanor, isn't that the new artist at Terrence's gallery? I nodded, remembering the young woman with flowing dark hair who'd started showing her work there 3 months ago. 28 years old. Apparently she's celebrating her birthday tonight. On your anniversary? Alex's face darkened. Please tell me you're joking. I wish I was. I stirred my cold coffee. He hasn't even mentioned our anniversary. Not once. What are you going to do? Before I could answer, my phone lit up with a text from Cade. Working late tonight. Don't wait up. Alex reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Zur, I'm so sorry. I need to see it for myself, I said, standing up. Eleanor's having her birthday dinner at La Maison tonight. I saw the reservation details in his email. I'm coming with you, Alex declared, grabbing her purse. We arrived at La Maison just after 8. Through the restaurant's front window, I saw them immediately, Cade and Eleanor at a corner table, intimately close. He was wearing the blue tie he'd been looking for earlier, and on Eleanor's wrist gleamed a familiar-looking bracelet. Maybe we should... Alex started, but I was already pushing through the door. I walked straight to their table, my heart pounding but my steps steady. Eleanor saw me first, her eyes widening in recognition. Cade turned, and the color drained from his face. Happy anniversary, darling, I said, my voice carrying across the now silent restaurant. I see you're celebrating it in style. Eleanor looked between us, confusion clouding her features. Anniversary? Oh, didn't Cade tell you? I smiled, though it felt more like baring my teeth. Today marks 10 years of our marriage, but please don't let me interrupt your birthday dinner. Marriage? Eleanor's voice cracked. She turned to Cade, who sat frozen in his chair. You're married? I placed my hand on their table, wedding ring glinting under the romantic lighting. I'm Zuriel, Cade's wife, though I'm starting to think that title might need updating soon. Eleanor stood abruptly, grabbing her purse. The Cartier bracelet caught the light as she moved. I can't believe this. She rushed past me toward the exit. Zuriel, I can explain, Cade started, finally finding his voice. Save it for your lawyer, I replied, turning to leave. But I paused and looked back. By the way, next time you buy expensive jewelry with our joint account, you might want to delete the email confirmations too. As Alex and I walked out, I heard the murmurs and whispers from other diners. My hands were shaking, but my mind was surprisingly clear. In the car, Alex turned to me. Are you okay? I stared straight ahead, watching Eleanor's car speed away into the night. No, I answered honestly, but I will be. An idea was already forming in my mind, one that would make this betrayal into something beautiful and terrible all at once. After all, art had always been my best way of processing pain. The morning after the restaurant confrontation, I sat in my studio, staring at a blank canvas while my phone buzzed incessantly with Cade's messages. I'd spent the night at Alex's place, leaving him to stew in his own mess. 37 missed calls, Alex announced, scrolling through my phone. And wow, these messages are something else. Baby, please come home. We can work this out. Yeah, right. I dipped my brush in crimson paint, making the first angry stroke across the canvas. He came home at 3 a.m. last night. Security cameras don't lie. Speaking of lies, Alex held up an envelope. This came for you at the house. It's an invitation to Eleanor's upcoming gallery showing at Terrence's. I almost laughed at the irony. When? Next month? The theme is modern love. Alex's voice dripped with sarcasm. How fitting. The doorbell rang, making us both jump. Alex peeked through the window and groaned. It's Cade. Want me to tell him to get lost? No, I said, wiping paint from my hands. I want to hear what kind of story he's cooked up. Cade stood on the doorstep, looking like he hadn't slept. Good. Zuriel, please. Save the dramatics for someone who still believes them. I cut him off, blocking the doorway. What do you want? 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking for. I crossed my arms. You have 3. Eleanor means nothing to me, he started. It was a mistake. A mistake? I interrupted. A mistake is burning dinner. A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill. Having a months-long affair and spending our money on your girlfriend, that's a choice. I'll end it. I'll do whatever you want. Just come home. Behind me, Alex snorted. Funny how you're only sorry now that you got caught. Cade ignored her. Zur, please. Think about our life together. 10 years, which you couldn't even remember to celebrate, I finished. Get off my property, Cade. As I closed the door, my phone pinged with a new email. It was from Terrence. Heard about what happened? Drop by the gallery when you can. We need to talk. An hour later, I walked into Terrence's gallery, the walls lined with Eleanor's artwork. Her style was good, I had to admit. Bold colors and clean lines that spoke of confidence and youth. There's my favorite artist, Terrence called from his office. Come in, come in. I settled into the leather chair across from his desk, noting the concern in his eyes. I assume you've heard? Small art world. He nodded. Eleanor resigned this morning. Apparently she's moving to Chicago. Convenient, I muttered. But that's not why I called you here. Terrence leaned forward. I have an opening in next month's showcase. Eleanor's spot, actually. It's yours if you want it. I stared at him. The Modern Love exhibition? Ironic, isn't it? He smiled. But I've seen your work evolve over the years, Zuriel. You're at your best when you're processing strong emotions. And right now, I'd say you're sitting on a goldmine of inspiration. My mind raced with possibilities. When would you need the pieces? 3 weeks. He handed me a contract. Think you can handle it? I thought about the blank canvas in my studio, waiting to tell my story. Oh, I can handle it. Back at the studio, Paige had joined Alex, both of them examining my first angry brushstrokes. Now that's what I call therapy, Paige said, gesturing at the canvas. But what's the plan here, Zur? Because that look in your eyes? I know it well. I pulled out my phone and showed them Eleanor's gallery invitation. The plan is to tell a story. My story. Their story. And I'm going to tell it in front of everyone they know. You're going to expose them through your art? Alex's eyes widened. That's brilliant. It's also dangerous, Paige warned. Are you sure you want to go down this road? I picked up my brush again, dipping it in deep blue. the color of Cade's favorite tie. They say revenge is best served cold, but I think it's best served on canvas, don't you? As I started working, my phone buzzed with another text from Cade. I miss you. Please come home. I showed it to Alex, who promptly deleted it. Focus on your art, she said. Let him wonder what you're up to. I smiled, adding another stroke to the canvas. Oh, he'll find out soon enough. They all will. The painting was beginning to take shape. A woman's silhouette, wrapped in shadows and secrets. It was just the beginning, but already I could feel the power in it. My revenge wouldn't be loud or messy. It would be beautiful, public, and absolutely devastating. The next week passed in a blur of paint and purpose. I worked like a woman possessed, barely sleeping, turning my pain into something tangible. The centerpiece was coming together, a large canvas that would be impossible to ignore. You need to eat something, Alex said, placing a sandwich beside my easel. And maybe shower. You're starting to look like one of your paintings. I stepped back from the canvas, wiping sweat from my forehead. What do you think? The painting showed a woman, Eleanor, draped in jewelry and fine clothes, but each item was tagged with a price. In the background, barely visible unless you looked closely, was my own reflection in a mirror, writing checks. It's brutal, Alex whispered. Beautiful, but brutal. The gallery door chimed, and Terrence walked in with someone I hadn't seen in years, my old mentor, Rogelio. Rogelio? I put down my brush. What are you doing here? I heard about the exhibition, he said, embracing me, and about Cade. I had to see for myself. Rogelio was more than just my mentor. He was also Cade's business partner. The implications of his presence weren't lost on me. How bad is it? I asked. 3 clients have already pulled out, Rogelio sighed. Cade's reputation, well, let's just say the business community is smaller than he thought. I'm not trying to destroy his business, I said, though part of me felt a twinge of satisfaction. No? Rogelio raised an eyebrow. Then what are you trying to do? I gestured to the painting. I'm telling the truth. If that destroys anything, maybe it needed destroying. Terrence cleared his throat. Speaking of truth, there's something you should know. Eleanor's been trying to get her spot back in the exhibition. What? Alex and I said simultaneously. She claims she was misled and wants to tell her side of the story. Terrence continued. I told her the spot was filled. She's got nerve, Alex muttered. My phone buzzed. Another text from Cade. Can we talk? Please? I made a reservation at your favorite restaurant. Still trying to buy his way out of trouble. I showed the message to Alex. You're not going, are you? She asked. Actually, I think I will. I grabbed my jacket. I need to understand something. 2 hours later, I sat across from Cade at the same restaurant where we'd had our first date. He looked terrible, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes. Thank you for coming, he said softly. I'm here because I want to know why, I said, cutting straight to the point. Was it worth it? Cade stared into his untouched wine. I don't know. I got caught up in the attention, the excitement. Eleanor was new and different. And young, I added. That's not, He stumbled over his words. I made a mistake. You made several, I corrected him, including using our joint account to fund your affair. I'll pay it all back, he said quickly. Whatever you want, just don't do this exhibition. I sat back surprised. How do you know about that? Eleanor told me. She's worried about what you might paint. He leaned forward. We can handle this privately. No need to make it public. Like you handled our anniversary privately? I stood up. You know what your problem is, Cade? You think everything can be negotiated, bought, or buried. But some things need to be seen in the light. Zoriel, please. The exhibition opens in 2 weeks, I said, gathering my things. Make sure you dress nice for it. Back at the studio, I worked through the night, adding final touches to the centerpiece. Each brush stroke felt like a step toward freedom. You okay? Paige asked, bringing me coffee at dawn. You know what's strange? I said, not looking away from the canvas. I actually feel sorry for him. He has no idea what's coming. Having second thoughts? I shook my head. No, but I'm starting to understand something my mother always said. The truth doesn't need defending. It just needs witnesses. Well, Paige smiled. In 2 weeks, it's going to have plenty of those. I stepped back to look at my work. the culmination of my anger, pain, and determination. The painting wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my story, my dignity, and my future. By the way, Paige added, checking her phone, Terrence says the RSVPs are flooding in. Apparently, word got out that this exhibition is going to be memorable. I smiled, picking up my brush again. Oh, it will be. Trust me, it will be. Borrowed love, I said, stepping back from the newly finished centerpiece. That's what I'm calling it. Alex circled the painting, her heels clicking on the studio floor. It's perfect, the way you've captured Eleanor's face. It's like she's both proud and hollow at the same time. The painting showed Eleanor draped in all of Cade's gifts. The Cartier bracelet, designer clothes, even the earrings I'd found receipts for. But I'd painted each item with price tags attached, floating around her like autumn leaves. In the background, barely visible, was a woman's silhouette writing checks, me funding their fairy tale. 1 week until the exhibition, Terrence announced, walking into the studio. And you won't believe who just RSVP'd. Eleanor, I guessed. Better, your mother-in-law. I nearly dropped my brush. Margaret? But she's been in Europe for months. Apparently, she's cutting her trip short specifically for this. Terrence handed me his phone, showing Margaret's email. She says she's deeply concerned about family matters. She doesn't know the half of it, Alex muttered. My phone buzzed. Cade again. He'd been trying a new approach lately, sending daily messages about our history together. Today's read, remember our first apartment? How we ate ramen for months to afford art supplies for you? He's trying to make you nostalgic, Paige said, reading over my shoulder. Classic manipulation. It would work better if he hadn't spent our anniversary buying jewelry for his girlfriend, I replied, deleting the message. The gallery door chimed again. This time it was Rogelio, looking troubled. We need to talk, he said, pulling me aside. Cade's losing it. He showed up at the office drunk yesterday, begging me to convince you to cancel the exhibition. And I told him he should be more worried about the clients we're losing. Rogelio ran a hand through his gray hair. 3 more pulled out this morning. Word travels fast in business circles. I never meant to affect your business, I said softly. Don't apologize for his mistakes. Rogelio squeezed my shoulder. Besides, I'm thinking of buying him out. The company needs a fresh start. Later that afternoon, I was touching up details when the studio door opened again. My heart stopped. It was Eleanor. You can't be here, Alex started, moving toward her, but I held up my hand. It's okay, I said. Let her speak. Eleanor looked different, smaller somehow, less confident. I needed to see you, to explain. Explain what? How you dated a married man? Or how you spent my money? I didn't know, she whispered, about any of it. The marriage, the money. He told me he was divorced. And you never thought to verify that? Never wondered why he could only see you at certain times? Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. I was stupid, and I'm sorry. But this exhibition, it will ruin us both. No, I corrected her. It will tell the truth. There's a difference. Please, she stepped closer. I'll do anything. I'm trying to start over in Chicago. With whose money? I asked sharply. Because I checked our accounts. There was a large withdrawal last week. Eleanor's face flushed. He said it was his... Get out, I said quietly. And Eleanor, don't miss the exhibition. You're the guest of honor, after all. After she left, Alex whistled low. Well, that was intense. You okay? Paige asked, touching my arm. I turned back to my painting, adding one final detail, a small price tag on Eleanor's heart. I'm better than okay. I'm ready. That evening, as I was locking up the studio, my phone rang. It was Margaret, my mother-in-law. Zuriel, darling. Her crisp voice came through. What's this I hear about an exhibition? It's about modern love, I said carefully. You should come see it. Don't play games with me, she snapped. Cade tells me you're trying to humiliate him publicly. No, Margaret. I'm just telling the truth publicly. He handled the humiliation part all by himself. There was a long pause. You know, she said finally, I never thought you were good enough for him. But perhaps I had that backward. The line went dead, leaving me standing there in the darkening studio. The centerpiece loomed before me, Eleanor's painted eyes seeming to follow me. 1 week, I whispered to the canvas. 1 week until everyone sees who you really are. Both of you. My phone buzzed one last time. Another text from Cade. Whatever you're planning, please reconsider, for both our sakes. I smiled, typing back my first response in weeks. Don't forget to dress up for the exhibition. You'll want to look your best when your borrowed love comes due. 3 days before the exhibition, I stood in Terrence's gallery, directing the installation of my pieces. Each painting told part of the story, leading viewers through my journey of discovery and betrayal, building up to the centerpiece that remained carefully covered. The RSVPs are insane, Terrence said, reviewing his tablet. We've got art critics from 3 major publications, half the city's social circle, and my husband's entire client list, I finished. I saw the names. Speaking of your husband, Alex called from the entrance. You've got mail. She handed me a thick envelope, legal documents from Cade's lawyer. Inside was a proposed settlement agreement, offering me a substantial sum to cancel the exhibition. He's trying to buy your silence, Paige said, reading over my shoulder. Classic rich guy move. I ripped the papers in half. Some things aren't for sale. The gallery door chimed and Margaret swept in, looking exactly as I remembered. Perfectly coiffed silver hair, designer outfit, judgmental expression. Well, she said, surveying the gallery. This is certainly dramatic. Margaret, I nodded. You're early. I wanted to see it before the crowds. She walked slowly past each painting. These are quite revealing. That's the point. She stopped at a smaller piece, one showing Cade's hands counting out bills. You know, when Cade was young, he used to take things that weren't his. Small things at first, then larger ones. We thought he'd outgrown it. Apparently not, I said dryly. I enabled him, she continued, surprising me. Made excuses, paid people off. Perhaps if I hadn't... She turned to face me. Do what you must, Zuriel, but know that this will change everything. It already has. After Margaret left, Alex helped me adjust the lighting on the main wall. That was unexpected. Everything about this is unexpected, I replied. I never thought I'd be... My phone rang. Rogelio. Turn on the news, he said without preamble. Channel 7. We huddled around Terrence's office TV, watching as a reporter stood outside my house. Sources say the prominent businessman's wife is planning an explosive art exhibition that will expose details of his alleged infidelity. Well, Paige said, so much for keeping it quiet until opening night. My phone exploded with notifications, messages from friends, family, even old college classmates. Then came Cade's text. Is this what you want? To destroy everything we built? You already did that, I muttered, turning off my phone. The next 2 days passed in a blur of final preparations. The gallery buzzed with activity, caterers planning, lighting technicians adjusting, security teams reviewing protocols. We've had 3 different reporters try to sneak in today, Terrence told me. This is bigger than we anticipated. Good, I said, adjusting the cover over Borrowed Love one last time. The more witnesses, the better. The night before the exhibition, I couldn't sleep. I drove to the gallery at midnight, needing to see everything one last time. But I wasn't alone. Eleanor was standing outside, staring through the windows. It's closed, I called out, making her jump. I needed to know what to expect, she said, turning to face me. How bad is it? That depends on your definition of bad. I unlocked the door. Want to see? She hesitated, then followed me inside. I turned on the lights, revealing the collection in all its brutal honesty. Eleanor moved slowly through the space, her face growing paler with each piece. The receipts, she whispered, stopping at one painting. You found them all. Every single one, I confirmed. Amazing what people leave in their email trash folders. She stopped in front of the covered centerpiece. Is that? You'll see it tomorrow, with everyone else. He says he loves me, she said suddenly. That once this is over, we can start fresh. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. He told me the same thing last week, and his lawyer offered me money to cancel this show yesterday. Eleanor's shoulders slumped. I'm such a fool. No, I said, surprising myself with my gentleness. You're just the latest in his collection of borrowed things. The difference is, I'm done paying the bills. After she left, I sat alone in the gallery, surrounded by my truth rendered in oil and canvas. My phone lit up with one final text from Cade. "I have an important meeting tomorrow. I won't be able to attend." "Coward," I texted back. "Don't worry, I'll make sure everyone sees exactly who you are, whether you're there or not." Tomorrow, I thought, looking at the covered centerpiece. Tomorrow, everything changes. Opening night arrived with an electricity in the air that made my skin tingle. By 7 o'clock, the gallery was packed wall to wall with guests, their excited whispers echoing off the high ceilings. "The art critics are here," Terrence murmured, passing me a glass of champagne, and 3 local news crews outside. "Any sign of Cade?" Alex asked, scanning the crowd. "Not yet," I replied, smoothing down my black dress. "But the night's young." The guests moved through the exhibition in waves, their reactions growing more intense with each piece. I heard gasps at the painting of Cade's hands counting money, saw phones raised to photograph the receipt-strewn backgrounds, noticed people pointing at the price tags floating through each scene. "Zuriel!" Margaret's voice cut through the crowd. She approached with a distinguished-looking man. "This is James from the Modern Art Review. He's very interested in your perspective." "Mrs. Pierce," James nodded, "your technique is remarkable, but I'm more intrigued by your choice to make the private so public. What drove that decision?" Before I could answer, a commotion near the entrance drew everyone's attention. Eleanor had arrived, wearing a simple black dress and looking like she might bolt at any moment. "Well," Margaret said dryly, "this should be interesting." Eleanor made her way through the gallery, flinching slightly at each painting. People whispered and pointed, some recognizing her from the pieces. She stopped in front of a smaller work showing her wearing the Cartier bracelet, price tag prominently displayed. "Zuriel!" she called out, her voice shaking. "Can we talk?" I excused myself and walked over. "I'm surprised you came." "I had to," she said, "but there's something you need to know. Cade." The gallery door burst open again, and this time it was Rogelio rushing in. "He's coming," he announced breathlessly, "and he's drunk." "What?" I turned to face the entrance just as Cade stumbled in, his tie askew and face flushed. "Is this what you wanted?" he shouted, gesturing wildly at the artwork. "To humiliate me?" The gallery fell silent. Phones came out, recording the scene. "Sir," one of the security guards stepped forward. "Please lower your voice." "This is between me and my wife," Cade slurred, pushing past him. "Zuriel, you need to take these down. Now." "Or what?" I asked calmly. "You'll throw more money at the problem?" "You don't understand what you're doing," he continued, moving closer. "The business, our reputation." "Your reputation?" Eleanor stepped forward. "What about mine? What about hers?" Cade spun to face her, nearly losing his balance. You're just as guilty. Taking the gifts, the money." "Money that wasn't yours to give," I interrupted. "But we're not done yet, darling. The main event is still to come." I nodded to Terrence, who dimmed the lights except for the spotlight on the covered centerpiece. The crowd gathered around, phones raised, waiting. "Don't," Cade warned, but his voice had lost its power. "Ladies and gentlemen," I announced, gripping the cover, "I present Borrowed Love." I pulled the cloth away, revealing the massive canvas in all its glory. The crowd gasped collectively. Eleanor's painted form dominated the scene, draped in every gift Cade had given her, each item meticulously price-tagged. But now, in the proper lighting, the background became clear. A series of bank statements, credit card bills, and receipts forming a web that connected everything back to my signature. "My God," Margaret whispered. Eleanor stepped closer to the painting, her hand covering her mouth. "The bracelet, it was your money." "Everything was," I said quietly. "Every gift, every dinner, every hotel room, all funded by my art sales, which Cade managed for me." "You're going to regret this," Cade growled, but Rogelio grabbed his arm. "The only thing she'll regret is not doing it sooner," Rogelio said firmly. "Now, let's get you out of here before you make things worse." As security escorted Cade out, cameras flashing, I felt a hand on my shoulder. It was Margaret. "Well," she said, looking at the painting, "I suppose I owe you an apology. Several, actually." The critics were scribbling frantically in their notebooks. Guests were sharing videos of Cade's outburst. And in the middle of it all, Eleanor stood staring at her painted self. "What happens now?" she asked without turning around. I watched as Cade was helped into a taxi outside, his dignified facade finally shattered. Now we stop borrowing love and start owning our truth. The exhibition buzzed with excitement, but for me, the real show was over. I'd told my story, exposed the lies, and reclaimed my narrative. The rest was just aftermath. The morning after the exhibition, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. 3 major newspapers wanted interviews, galleries across the country were requesting the collection for touring, and social media was ablaze with videos of Cade's drunken appearance. "You've gone viral," Alex announced, scrolling through her phone. The hashtag borrowed love is trending. I was sitting in Terrence's office, watching as he fielded call after call. "The Modern Art Review wants to do a cover story," he said, covering his phone's mouthpiece. "And every piece is sold, even the sketches." "Who bought the centerpiece?" I asked. Terrence grinned. "Margaret. She said something about keeping it in the family as a reminder." The door burst open and Rogelio rushed in, looking disheveled. "We have a situation. Cade's trying to liquidate the company assets." "Can he do that?" Alex asked. "Not without my signature." Rogelio pulled out his phone, showing us an email. "But he's already transferred money from our business accounts to his personal one." "That's illegal," I said. "Extremely. The board's calling an emergency meeting in an hour." Rogelio straightened his tie. "Want to come? As his wife, you're technically a stakeholder." The corporate office was chaos when we arrived. Board members huddled in groups, whispering frantically. Cade sat alone at the end of the conference table, looking like he'd aged 10 years overnight. "The motion is simple," Rogelio addressed the board. "Given recent events and unauthorized financial activities, we move to remove Cade from his position and freeze all company accounts pending investigation." "You can't do this." Cade stood up, swaying slightly. "This is my company." "Actually," a board member spoke up, "you only own 30%, and after reviewing these transfer records, this is your fault." Cade pointed at me. "You and your damn paintings." "No," I said calmly. "This is what accountability looks like." The vote was unanimous. As security escorted Cade out, his keycard and company phone confiscated, my own phone buzzed with a text from Eleanor. "Can we meet, please?" An hour later, I found her at a small cafe downtown. She looked different, more grounded somehow. "I'm leaving for Chicago tonight," she said without preamble. "But first, I wanted you to have this." She slid the Cartier bracelet across the table. "Keep it," I said. "Consider it payment for the truth." "I sold everything else he gave me," she continued. "The money's been transferred back to your account. It won't fix anything, but it's a start. The paintings," she hesitated. "They were beautiful. Terrible, but beautiful. You made me see myself the way others saw me, the way I should have seen myself." My phone buzzed again, a news alert. The headline read, "Prominent businessman under investigation for financial misconduct." "Karma works fast these days," Eleanor commented, reading over my shoulder. Back at the gallery, Terrence was supervising the packing of sold artwork. "The New York Times article just dropped," he said, handing me his tablet. "They're calling it a masterpiece of personal justice through art." "Zuriel!" Margaret's voice rang through the gallery. She strode in, looking unusually flustered. "Have you seen the news? Cade tried to leave the country. They stopped him at the airport." "What?" "Apparently, he had a private plane waiting. Rogelio called the authorities just in time." She shook her head. "All these years, I thought I knew my son. Now I realize I only knew what I wanted to see." "Speaking of seeing things," Terrence interrupted, "we have another situation. The waiting list for your next exhibition is getting ridiculous. Every major gallery in the country wants you." "They don't want me," I corrected him. "They want the scandal." "No," Margaret said firmly. "They want the truth. You showed us all how powerful that can be." My phone lit up with another text from Cade's lawyer. "Given recent developments, Mr. Pierce is willing to agree to all divorce terms without contest." "Well," Alex said, reading the message, "looks like borrowed love comes with a return policy after all." I looked around the gallery at the empty walls where my pain had hung just yesterday. But instead of feeling empty, I felt light, free. "So," Terrence asked, "what's your next collection going to be about?" I thought about the blank canvases waiting in my studio, about the story that was ending and the one that was just beginning. "Liberation," I said. It's time to paint what freedom looks like. The gallery doors opened, letting in the late afternoon sun. Outside, I could hear the buzz of the city, feel the pulse of possibility. The borrowed love was over. Now it was time to create something real. The divorce papers lay signed on my lawyer's desk, their crisp edges marking the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. Outside the office window, autumn leaves danced in the breeze. "Congratulations," my lawyer smiled. "You are officially a free woman." "How fitting," Alex said, squeezing my hand. "Just in time for your new exhibition." The gallery was transformed for tonight's opening. Where borrowed love had been dark and accusatory, liberation exploded with color and light. Each canvas told a story of breaking free, of finding strength in vulnerability. "They're already lining up outside," Terrence called from the entrance. "And guess who's here?" Eleanor walked in, looking polished in a Chicago gallery owner's blazer. "I hope it's okay that I came. My flight back isn't until tomorrow." "Of course," I said. "How's the new job?" "Amazing. Turns out burning bridges can light the way forward." She handed me a newspaper. "Have you seen this?" The headline read, "Former business mogul pleads guilty to financial misconduct." Below was a photo of Cade entering the courthouse. 5 years, Rogelio said, joining us. "That's what the prosecutor's recommending, plus full restitution. The company's doing better than ever," he continued. "Turns out clients appreciate honesty more than charm." The gallery doors opened and people flooded in. Art critics, collectors, and curious observers moved through the space, their reactions different from last time. Less scandal-driven shock, more genuine appreciation. "This one," a critic pointed to the centerpiece. "Tell me about it." The painting showed a woman, clearly me, surrounded by broken chains transformed into butterflies. Each link bore a date. My wedding day, the day I found the receipt, the night of borrowed love's reveal. "It's called Unbound," I explained. "Sometimes we need to break apart to become whole." "Profound," Margaret's voice came from behind me. She looked softer somehow, more human. "And true." "Margaret," I started, but she held up her hand. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she said, "about enabling, about truth, about the difference between loving someone and loving who you want them to be." She touched my arm. "Thank you for teaching me that difference." Paige rushed over, excitement in her eyes. "The Museum of Modern Art is on the phone. They want to feature both collections, Borrowed Love and Liberation, as a special exhibition on emotional transformation through art. Take it," Margaret urged. "Show everyone that pain can become power." As the evening progressed, I found myself in front of Unbound, studying my own journey. A young woman approached, tears in her eyes. "Your first exhibition helped me leave my cheating husband," she said softly. "This one's helping me find myself again." "That's what art should do," I replied. "Mirror truth back to us until we're brave enough to face it." The crowd thinned as night fell. Alex, Paige, Terrence, Rogelio, Margaret, and Eleanor gathered around me, opening champagne. "To freedom," Alex proposed. "To truth," Eleanor added. "To art," Terrence smiled. "To all of it," I said, raising my glass. "And to all of you who helped me turn betrayal into beauty." My phone buzzed one last time, a message from Cade's prison email account. I finally understand what I lost. Not just you, but myself. I showed it to Alex, who took my phone and deleted the message. "Some chapters need to stay closed." "Speaking of chapters," Terrence interjected, "the gallery in Paris called again. They're offering you a residency. 3 months, all expenses paid, to create whatever you want." I looked around at my support system, at the walls covered in my journey, at the empty canvas of my future stretching out before me. "What do you think?" I asked them. "I think," Margaret said, "that it's time for you to paint something just for yourself." Eleanor nodded. "No revenge, no pain, just pure creation." "Paris in spring," Paige grinned. "We'll all come visit." I walked to the gallery windows, looking out at the city lights. Behind me, my family of choice chatted and laughed, their voices warm with possibility. Before me lay an unwritten future, blank as a fresh canvas. "Yes," I said, turning back to them. "Yes to Paris, yes to everything." We raised our glasses again, and I felt it. That moment when you know with absolute certainty that you're exactly where you're meant to be. Not because of someone else's choices, but because of your own. The borrowed love was gone, but in its place stood something far more valuable. A life that was completely, unquestionably mine.
"You should be grateful I let you stay home all day," Simon said, not looking up from his phone as he lounged on our Italian leather sofa. "Most wives would kill for this lifestyle." I gripped my coffee mug tighter, the ceramic warm against my trembling fingers. After 5 years of marriage, his dismissive tone still had the power to make my stomach clench. "My name is Samantha, and I'm the invisible wife of the brilliant Simon Harding. I was thinking of doing some consulting work again," I ventured, keeping my voice steady. "Just part-time. The marketing industry has changed so much, and Really, Sam?" He finally looked up, his handsome face twisted in that condescending smirk I'd grown to hate. "You haven't worked in, 4 years? The industry's moved on. Besides, what would you even do with the money?" I bit back the truth, that I'd been working remotely for the past 2 years, building an international client base under my maiden name. Instead, I smiled weakly and sipped my coffee. "I just miss it sometimes. The challenge?" He laughed, standing up to straighten his designer tie in the mirror. "Honey, your biggest challenge is deciding which yoga class to take. Remember how stressed you were at your old job? I did you a favor." The memory of my resignation flashed through my mind. I'd been up for promotion at one of the top marketing firms in Boston. Simon had spent months telling me how exhausted I looked, how the pressure was changing me, how we could easily live on his income alone. He'd worn me down until I believed him. "Speaking of favors," he continued, checking his Rolex, "I need you to cancel your lunch with Alea today. The Jacobsons are in town, and I told them we'd do lunch at the club." "I can't cancel on Alea again," I protested. "This is the 3rd time." "Sam," his voice carried that warning tone, "the Jacobsons are potential investors. This is important." My phone buzzed. A notification from my secret email account. "Tokyo proposal approved. Contract attached." "Fine," I said quietly. "I'll reschedule with Alea." Simon grabbed his briefcase, dropped a perfunctory kiss on my cheek. "That's my girl." "Oh, and wear that blue dress I bought you. The Jacobsons are traditional. They appreciate a wife who makes an effort." After he left, I waited exactly 17 minutes before racing upstairs to my home office, the room Simon called my hobby space. Behind a false panel in my desk drawer, I pulled out an old notebook. Inside were my first business plans, written 2 years ago when I realized I couldn't live like this forever. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Alea. "Girl, don't you dare cancel on me. I have tea to spill." I hesitated, then typed, "Actually, can you meet me at your office instead? I need legal advice." Her response was immediate. "Finally, 11 a.m., bring all your documents." I opened my laptop, logged out of the shared email account Simon occasionally checked, and pulled up my private email. The Tokyo contract would push my consulting income over 7 figures this year. My husband thought I spent my days at yoga classes and charity luncheons. He had no idea I was building my escape, one international client at a time. My phone lit up with a text from Simon. "Wear heels too, and do something with your hair. Looking forward to showing off my trophy wife." I opened my notebook to a fresh page and wrote the date. Below it, I added 2 words, "I'm done." The house phone rang, probably Simon's mother calling to remind me about some country club function. I let it go to voicemail, instead opening my encrypted folder of documents. Photos of Simon with his not-so-secret girlfriend, bank statements showing suspicious transfers, tax documents with questionable deductions, another text from Alea. "Bring your grandmother's inheritance paperwork, too. Trust me." I touched the diamond tennis bracelet on my wrist. The last birthday gift my grandmother gave me before she passed. "Never let anyone make you feel small," she'd said, "especially not a man." Looking around our perfect house, with its perfect furniture and suffocating perfection, I felt something shift inside me. The fear was still there, but now it was hardening into something else, something stronger. I opened my secret email and began typing, "Dear Mr. Tanaka, thank you for the Tokyo contract. I look forward to exceeding your expectations. Best regards, Samantha Mills." My maiden name looked beautiful on the screen. Soon, it would be my only name again. First, though, I had a lunch to attend. I'd wear the blue dress, I'd style my hair, I'd smile and play the trophy wife one last time. But while Simon showed me off to the Jacobsons, I'd be planning his downfall. "Your grandmother left you how much?" Alea's eyes widened as she studied the inheritance documents spread across her desk. "Just under $500,000, I said, watching her face carefully. Simon never knew the exact amount. He assumed it was pocket change. And now? She leaned forward, perfectly manicured nails tapping the polished wood. I pulled up my private banking app. Alea's jaw dropped at the number on the screen. 4,187,952.14. Holy shit, Sam. She sat back in her chair. How? Remember Cyrus, the accountant who helped with Grandma's estate? I smiled, remembering our first secretive meeting. He saw potential in me when everyone else saw a trophy wife. We started small, careful investments, remote consulting jobs. Every time Simon was working late with his mistress, I was on video calls with clients in Tokyo, London, Dubai. Speaking of the mistress, Alea pulled out her phone, showing me an Instagram post. There was Simon, arm around a young blonde at some rooftop bar. The caption read, "Business dinner with the genius behind Harding Tech. Blessed as I'm your entrepreneur." That's Poppy, I said flatly. She's been his side project for at least 8 months. And you're documenting everything? I nodded, pulling out my own phone. Times, dates, locations, plus screenshots of every suspicious bank transfer he's made trying to hide money from me. Alea's office phone buzzed. "Your husband is here to see you," her assistant announced. "Simon?" I felt my pulse quicken. "No," Alea smirked. "Mine. Perfect timing. He's got something you need to see." Marcus, Alea's husband and a financial investigator, strode in carrying a thick folder. "Sorry I'm late. Had to double-check these numbers." He spread several documents across the desk. Simon's company isn't just struggling, it's hemorrhaging money. He's been cooking the books for months. "That explains the refinance application on your house," Alea added. "He's trying to access equity before everything falls apart." My phone chimed with a calendar reminder. Anniversary dinner, 7 p.m. "Shit," I muttered. "I have to go home and change. Simon's taking me to La Maison to celebrate 7 years of his magnificent generosity." "Wait," Marcus held up a paper. "Before you go, you need to see this. Simon used your power of attorney to move some investments last week. The signature, it's not yours." I stared at the document, my hands shaking. "I never signed this." "No," Alea said grimly. "He forged it. This is getting serious, Sam." My phone buzzed again. A text from Simon. "We're the diamonds I bought you last Christmas. The restaurant owner's wife will be there. Need to maintain appearances." "I have to go," I said, gathering my papers. "But first," I pulled out my grandmother's letter, the one that came with the inheritance. "I want this on record. She specifically left this money to me, not to the marriage." As Alea made copies, I thought about tonight's dinner. Simon would order expensive wine, brag about his latest deals, and remind me how lucky I was that he saved me from my career. "One more thing," Marcus called as I reached the door. "Your Tokyo client? They're looking to expand their U.S. presence. The contract could be worth millions." I smiled, thinking of the proposal I'd sent last night while Simon watched sports downstairs. "I know. The meeting's next week. I'm calling in from my spa weekend." "Sam," Alea caught my arm. "Be careful. Men like Simon, They don't handle losing control well. I know, I said softly. That's why I've spent 2 years making sure he never suspected he was losing it. Driving home, I passed the country club where Simon played golf every Saturday, his networking time. Last week, I'd watched from my car as he and Poppy slipped into her Range Rover after his supposed client meeting. My phone rang. Simon again. Hey, beautiful, don't forget we're celebrating tonight. 7 years of perfect marriage. Wouldn't forget, I replied, my voice honey-sweet. I'm wearing the diamonds. That's my girl. Oh, and clear your calendar for next weekend. Taking some investors to the lake house. I smiled at his slip. Of course, honey, whatever you need. Pulling into our driveway, I touched my grandmother's bracelet again. Tonight, I'd play my part. I'd smile at Simon's jokes, laugh at his stories, and pretend I didn't know about the forged documents, or the mistress, or the failing company. But next week, while he was at the lake house with Poppy, I'd be closing the biggest deal of my career. And soon, very soon, Simon would learn what it felt like to be the invisible one. My phone lit up with an email notification. Final contract revisions, Tokyo deal. Perfect timing. I had just enough time to review it before playing trophy wife one last time. Someone's been talking to TechCrunch. Simon stormed into the kitchen, his face red with rage. They're running a piece on the company's financials tomorrow. I looked up from my tea, carefully maintaining a neutral expression. That sounds serious. What are they saying? Nothing true, he snapped, loosening his tie. Just speculation about our Q3 losses and some nonsense about shell companies. He grabbed the whiskey from the cabinet. I need you to transfer the Aspen property into your name, just temporarily. I can't, I said softly. I have yoga. He slammed the glass down. This isn't a joke, Sam. I'm trying to protect our assets. Our assets? I raised an eyebrow. I thought they were your assets. Isn't that what you told my mother at Christmas? The doorbell rang before he could respond. Simon's younger brother, Max, stood on our doorstep looking grim. We need to talk, Max said, brushing past Simon. All of us. I poured more tea while the brothers settled at our kitchen island. Max pulled out his tablet, pulling up financial documents. Want to explain why Mom and Dad's retirement account is suddenly empty? Max's voice was cold. Or why their names are on loan documents for your Singapore venture. Simon's face paled slightly. It's complicated. Business stuff you wouldn't understand. Try me, Max challenged, because it looks like you've been using our parents' credentials to secure loans for your failing companies. I watched silently as Simon attempted to explain away his actions. The same smooth talking that had convinced me to quit my job years ago now sounded hollow and desperate. Sam, Max turned to me suddenly. Did you know about any of this? How could she? Simon laughed harshly. She doesn't understand finance. She's barely managed a checkbook since we got married. I sipped my tea, thinking about the offshore accounts I'd established with Cyrus's help, the investment portfolio that had tripled in value last quarter, and the anonymous tip I'd sent to TechCrunch 3 days ago. You're not innocent in this either, Max said to me. You must have suspected something. My phone buzzed. An email from Cyrus marked urgent. I opened it under the counter. Wire transfer from Tokyo confirmed. 2.1 hours cleared. Congratulations. I'm just the wife, I said quietly. Simon handles everything. Simon's phone rang. His lawyer, Peter. As he stepped out to take the call, Max leaned closer to me. Sam, if you know anything, now's the time to tell me. Mom and Dad could lose everything. I pulled out my laptop. Check your email in 2 minutes. And Max, make sure your parents see it too. Simon's voice rose from the other room. What do you mean they have proof? Those documents were destroyed. I hit send on an email containing copies of every fraudulent document Simon had created over the past year, including the forged power of attorney. Max's phone pinged. His eyes widened as he scrolled through the attachments. How long have you known? He whispered. Long enough, I replied. And there's more, much more. Simon stormed back in. We need to talk strategy. Max, you need to convince Mom and Dad to sign some papers. No. Max stood up. No more papers. No more lies. He looked at me. You should be careful, Sam. He's not who we thought he was. After Max left, Simon paced the kitchen. This is fixable. I just need time and money. He stopped suddenly, looking at me. Your inheritance. How much exactly did your grandmother leave you? I smiled, remembering the look on his face years ago when he dismissed it as pocket change. She left me enough, I said, standing up, but not for you. What's that supposed to mean? My phone recorded his next words clearly. Listen, you ungrateful little parasite. Everything you have is because of me. You can leave, but I'll make sure you regret it. You'll have nothing. I let the threat hang in the air as I gathered my things. I have a headache. I'm going to lie down. Upstairs in my office, I forwarded the recording to Alea. Then I opened my email to find 4 new client proposals waiting. My empire was growing while his crumbled. Another text from Max. Mom's crying. Dad's talking about pressing charges. What do we do? I thought about Simon downstairs, probably plotting his next move, believing he still held all the cards. I thought about Poppy, who would soon learn her sugar daddy was broke. I thought about all the years I'd played small to make him feel big. Tell them to wait, I typed back. The TechCrunch article is just the beginning. My grandmother's bracelet caught the light as I opened my laptop to review the Tokyo contracts. Never let anyone make you feel small, she'd said. Oh, Grandma, if only you could see me now. $50,000, Simon's lawyer stated, sliding the paper across the conference table. Plus the car. Mr. Harding feels this is more than generous given the circumstances. I sat perfectly still, wearing the blue dress Simon had always loved, my grandmother's bracelet glinting under the fluorescent lights. Alea, beside me, didn't bother hiding her smirk. Generous, I repeated softly. That's an interesting word choice. Come on, Sam. Simon leaned forward, all casual confidence. Be reasonable. You haven't worked in years. What else could you possibly need? Alea opened her briefcase. Before we discuss numbers, we have some concerns about recent financial activities. She passed copies of documents around the table. Specifically, these transferred assets and interesting power of attorney signatures. Simon's lawyer, Peter, frowned as he reviewed the papers. These allegations are baseless. Mrs. Harding has always been aware of... Actually, I interrupted, I haven't been aware, just like I wasn't aware of the vacation in Bali last month. Simon's face tightened. What vacation? I pulled out my phone, opening Instagram. The one where Poppy tagged you at the Four Seasons. Business trip with my love, starro blessed entrepreneur. Very subtle. Social media posts prove nothing, Peter interjected quickly. Hotel receipts do, Alea countered, producing more documents, as do the photos from hotel security. Interesting timing, considering this was the same week Mr. Harding claimed he couldn't make the mortgage payment. My phone buzzed. A news alert. I smiled, knowing what it would be. Simon's phone chimed seconds later. His face went white as he read the screen. Tech CEO's double life exposed, I read aloud from my phone. Sources reveal pattern of fraud and infidelity. They even used a nice photo of you and Poppy at that rooftop bar. You vindictive bitch, Simon hissed. You're trying to destroy me. No, I corrected him calmly. You did that yourself. I'm just making sure everyone knows. Peter whispered something urgently to Simon, who shook his head violently. We need to adjourn, Peter announced. These new developments require consultation. Of course, Alea smiled. We'll wait while you read the article. Pay special attention to the part about the misappropriated investor funds. The SEC certainly will. As they huddled in the corner, my phone lit up with the messages. First from Max. Holy shit, Sam. Dad's calling his lawyer. Then from Evelyn, my mother. Is it true? All of it? Mrs. Harding, Peter returned, looking considerably less confident. Perhaps we could discuss a more equitable arrangement. It's Miss Mills now, I corrected him. And yes, let's discuss equity. I nodded to Alea, who produced another stack of papers. My client's terms are simple, she stated. Full financial disclosure, division of all legitimate assets, and her name removed from any fraudulent documents. Otherwise, we go public with everything. Simon slammed his hand on the table. This is blackmail. No, I said quietly. This is consequences. My phone buzzed again, Poppy's name appearing on the screen. I declined the call with a smile. You think this is funny? Simon demanded. You think you can just blow up my life? Our life, I corrected him. The one where you made me feel worthless, where you hid money, forged documents, and flaunted your affairs. That life is over. Peter was frantically reviewing papers. Mr. Harding, we should consider— She's bluffing, Simon interrupted. She has nothing. I opened my laptop, turning it to face them. Actually, I have everything. Bank statements, forged signatures, photos, emails. Even that interesting conversation with your investors last week about moving assets offshore. Amazing what people say when they think the cleaning staff isn't listening. Simon's face contorted. You had me followed? No need, I smiled. Poppy's Instagram stories did all the work. She really loves documenting your business meetings. Alea slid a final document across the table. Your choice, gentlemen. Sign the agreement, or we walk out that door and release everything to the press. The real press, not just social media. My phone lit up with another news alert. Breaking. Major clients cut ties with Harding Tech amid scandal. Simon stared at his own phone, watching his carefully constructed world crumble in real time. His hands shook as he reached for the papers. I'll destroy you, he whispered as he signed. You can't, I replied softly, standing up. I'm not the same woman who quit her job for you. I'm not the trophy wife anymore. As we left the conference room, Alea squeezed my arm. You okay? I touched my grandmother's bracelet, thinking of her words about never feeling small. I'm perfect, I answered, walking tall in the heels Simon had bought me, wearing the blue dress he loved, carrying the evidence that would end him. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Cyrus. Tokyo deal officially closed. You're now worth more than he ever was. I deleted the message without responding. Some victories are best celebrated in silence. You've ruined everything! Evelyn's voice cracked through my phone speaker. How could you do this to our family? I stood in my kitchen, watching through the window as another executive's car pulled out of Simon's company parking lot. Third resignation this week. I didn't ruin anything, I replied calmly. But since you're concerned about family, maybe ask your son-in-law what happened to your retirement fund. Silence on the line. What about our retirement fund? Check your statements, Mom. All of them. Then call me back. I hung up as Cyrus walked in, carrying his familiar leather briefcase. Ready to rehearse the financial presentation? Wait. I held up my hand as my phone buzzed with a text from Max. Dad found the empty accounts. He's having a heart attack. Not literally, but close. Your timing is impeccable, Cyrus noted, setting up his laptop. The market's already responding to Simon's scandal. His company's shares dropped 40% since opening. My phone rang again. Simon's number. I let it go to voicemail. You're sabotaging me, his message played out loud. The board is meeting tomorrow. My own investors are turning against me. I hope you're happy, you vindictive. I deleted the message before it finished. Let's focus on the presentation. Cyrus pulled up a spreadsheet. Your international holdings are solid. The Tokyo deal alone puts you in a different league. But there's something else you should see. He handed me a manila envelope. Inside were photos. dozens of them. Simon and Poppy together, dating back 3 years. My hands trembled as I found one from a beach resort, dated during my pregnancy scare. Where did these come from? Anonymous package, Cyrus said quietly. Delivered to my office this morning. My phone lit up with a text from Alea. SOS. Simon tried accessing your old investment account, used a power of attorney from 2019. One problem. You were in Tokyo that day. I have proof. He's getting sloppy, I murmured, forwarding the message to our legal team. The doorbell rang. I opened it to find Poppy standing there, mascara streaked down her face. Please, she said. I need to explain. I almost shut the door, but curiosity won. 5 minutes. She perched awkwardly on the edge of my expensive sofa. Simon told me you were separated, that you were just keeping up appearances for his business. For 3 years, I raised an eyebrow. I was stupid, she whispered. But you should know, he's planning something. He was on the phone all morning with some offshore accounts. Said something about moving everything before the mediation. My phone buzzed again. Evelyn. The accounts are empty. Everything's gone. Your father is meeting with lawyers right now. Karma works fast these days, I said to no one in particular. Poppy stood up. I'm sorry for everything. I thought he loved me. He loves himself, I replied. The rest of us are just accessories. After she left, Cyrus resumed our preparation. The mediation team needs to see every transaction. Your whole empire, built while he was busy destroying his. My phone chimed with another news alert. Harding. Tech board calls emergency meeting amid fraud allegations. Speaking of destruction, Cyrus nodded at my phone. Your timing with that anonymous tip to the financial regulators was perfect. I learned from the best, I smiled, touching my grandmother's bracelet. She always said timing was everything. A final text came through, from Max. Found something in Dad's old files. Looks like Simon used your trust fund as collateral for a loan last year. That's illegal, right? Send everything to Alea, I typed back. And Max, thank you for choosing truth over loyalty. Cyrus packed up his briefcase. Tomorrow's mediation will be interesting. Are you ready? I looked around the house Simon had chosen. Filled with the furniture Simon had selected, decorated to Simon's taste. Soon it would all be gone, sold to cover his debts and legal fees. More than ready, I answered. By the way, how's the new women's investment group doing? 20 members already, he smiled, all looking to do exactly what you did, build something quietly while their husbands underestimate them. My phone lit up one last time. A photo from Simon, showing us on our wedding day. His message read, Remember when you loved me? When you were grateful? We can fix this. I deleted it without responding, then opened my laptop to check the Tokyo Stock Exchange. My investments there had just hit an all-time high. Cyrus, I said quietly, make sure the mediation team has those pregnancy scare-dated photos of Simon and Poppy. Some things shouldn't stay buried. He nodded, understanding perfectly. Tomorrow would be about more than money. It would be about truth, consequences, and the price of underestimating a woman with nothing left to lose. The mediation room felt smaller than I remembered. Simon sat across the table, surrounded by 3 lawyers, his usual swagger replaced by dark circles under his eyes and a slightly rumpled suit. Let's begin, the mediator said, nodding to Peter. Simon's lawyer cleared his throat. Despite recent complications, my client is prepared to be generous. We're offering Mrs. Harding a settlement of $75,000, the Mercedes, and 3 months of continued health insurance. I remained silent, watching Simon's confident smirk return. He actually thought this was going to work. Additionally, Peter continued, given Mrs. Harding's years of homemaking, will include a monthly stipend of $2,000 for 1 year to help her transition. Alea raised her hand slightly. Before we respond, We'd like to call Mr. Joseph to present some financial documentation. Cyrus stepped forward, connecting his laptop to the room's projector. Simon's smirk faltered. Good morning, Cyrus began, pulling up the first spreadsheet. Let's start with the actual numbers, shall we? For the next 30 minutes, Cyrus methodically demolished Simon's financial facade. Screenshots of international wire transfers, consulting contracts, investment portfolios, all in my name, all legitimate, all built while Simon thought I was taking cooking classes and attending charity luncheons. As you can see, Cyrus concluded, Ms. Mill's personal net worth currently stands at just over $6.2 million, not including pending contracts or real estate holdings. Simon's face had turned an interesting shade of gray. This is impossible, he sputtered. She doesn't even know how to— Tokyo, I interrupted quietly. Remember all those spa weekends? I was closing deals. Dubai? Those yoga retreats? Meeting with investors? London? Well, you were too busy with Poppy to notice I was gone an extra day. Speaking of notice, Alea stepped in, let's discuss the fraudulent documents. She distributed folders to everyone present. Pay special attention to the power of attorney signatures. The dates are particularly interesting. Peter frantically flipped through the pages. We need to confer with our client. No, Simon snapped. This is ridiculous. She's nothing without me. I made her. Actually, I pulled out my phone. You might want to check your company's stock price before continuing that thought. The mediator cleared her throat. Perhaps we should take a brief recess. Wait, I said firmly. There's more. I nodded to Cyrus, who pulled up another document. This is a record of every fraudulent transaction Simon made using my family's accounts, including, I looked directly at Simon, the money he stole from my dying grandmother's medical fund. The room fell silent. Even Peter looked shocked. You remember her, right? I continued, touching my bracelet. The woman who told you at our wedding that if you ever hurt me, she'd haunt you from beyond the grave? Well, surprise. Simon's newest lawyer whispered something urgent in his ear. He shook his head violently. And finally, Alea stood, distributing one last set of documents, evidence of tax evasion spanning the last 4 years. The IRS is particularly interested in these offshore accounts. We need to adjourn, Peter announced, his voice strained. Immediately. Why? I asked innocently. Is it because the SEC investigator is meeting with your board in— I checked my watch. Exactly 45 minutes? Simon lunged across the table. You calculating, bitch! You've destroyed everything. 2 security guards appeared instantly, restraining him as he continued to shout. No, Simon. I stood calmly, gathering my papers. You destroyed everything. I just kept receipts. As Simon was escorted out, still ranting, Peter approached us. Perhaps we could discuss a more equitable arrangement. Of course, Alea smiled. We have terms prepared, though given the criminal implications of those forged documents, you might want to discuss plea bargains first. My phone buzzed. A text from Max. Dad's lawyer called. They're filing charges against Simon. Mom's finally seeing the truth. The mediator called for a brief recess. In the hallway, Cyrus touched my arm. You did it. Everything we planned, every detail. Perfect execution. Not everything, I replied, watching Simon argue with his lawyers through the conference room window. I never planned to feel this empty. That's because revenge doesn't heal, Cyrus said quietly. It just balances the scales. My phone lit up with another notification. Harding Tech CEO steps down amid federal investigation. Ready to finish this? Alea asked, returning with fresh coffee. I touched my grandmother's bracelet one last time, remembering her strength, her wisdom, her warning about men who try to make you feel small. Yes, I said, straightening my shoulders. Let's end this story. We walked back into the mediation room, where Peter waited with a new stack of documents and a defeated expression. Simon was notably absent. Now, I sat down, opening my laptop. Let's discuss the real numbers. And this time, let's not pretend I don't understand them. The mediator nodded, and the final chapter of my marriage began to close. The movers can handle the rest, I told Alea, watching the last of my personal belongings being loaded into the truck. Our perfect suburban house looked hollow now, stripped of the pretense that had filled it for years. My phone buzzed. Another news alert. Harding Tech files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. CEO faces federal charges. Have you seen this? Alea showed me her phone. Poppy's latest Instagram post. Sometimes the people we trust the most hurt us the deepest. Time for a fresh start. Frick healing, South betrayed. Ironic, I muttered, deleting the notification. The doorbell rang. Evelyn stood there, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. Can we talk? She asked quietly. I led her to the kitchen, the only room still fully furnished. Simon had always insisted on hosting dinner parties here, showing off his perfect domestic life. I owe you an apology, Evelyn said, placing her hands flat on the marble countertop. I pushed you to keep this marriage together, to be more understanding, more supportive. I was wrong. Mom. No, let me finish. She pulled out a folder. We met with the FBI yesterday. The things Simon did. The money he took from us, from you, from everyone. I didn't want to believe it. My phone lit up with a text from Max. Dad's pressing charges. Simon's looking at serious time. You okay? I'm selling my house, Evelyn continued. Your father and we need to start over. But first, I needed to tell you how proud I am. Of your strength, your intelligence, everything you built while we were all too blind to see it. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Poppy, mascara perfect despite her heartbroken social media posts. Can we talk? She asked, clutching her designer handbag. No, I replied simply, closing the door. She's got nerve, Evelyn muttered. My phone rang. Cyrus. The IRS just froze Simon's personal accounts. All of them, including the hidden ones in the Caymans. Good, I said, watching another moving box leave the house. Send everything to the investigators. Alea returned from directing the movers. Your new place is ready. The security system's active, and I've got the restraining order in place, just in case. Restraining order? Evelyn looked alarmed. Precautionary, I assured her. Simon's been unstable since the mediation. As if on cue, my phone displayed an email from Simon. You think you've won? I've named you as the primary disruptor in my lawsuit. You'll lose everything. I showed it to Alea, who laughed. He really doesn't get it, does he? He has nothing left to sue with. The last moving truck pulled away. I walked through the empty house one final time, remembering all the small deaths of self I'd endured here. The dinner parties where Simon had showcased me like a prize. The nights I'd worked secretly on international calls while he was with Poppy. The morning I'd found proof of his theft from my grandmother's account. Ready? Alea asked softly. Almost. I touched the kitchen wall where we'd marked height measurements during my pregnancy scare, the same week Simon had been in Bali with Poppy. I'd lost more than a baby that week. I'd lost the last of my illusions. My phone chimed with a message from my Tokyo client. Expansion plans approved. Contract attached. Looking forward to working with you directly now. Sam! Evelyn called from the front door. There's something else you should know. I stayed too long in my own marriage. Watched your father make the same controlling mistakes Simon made. I pushed you to endure because I thought that's what strong women did. I was wrong. I hugged her, smelling the familiar perfume she'd worn my entire life. We all learn eventually, Mom. Ms. Mills? A courier stood at the door. Document delivery requiring signature. The envelope contained Simon's bankruptcy filing. He'd listed me as a creditor, claiming I'd maliciously damaged his business reputation. Keep it for evidence, Alea advised. His desperation is showing. I took one last look at the house Simon had chosen, where I'd played the role he'd written for me while secretly writing my own story. "The movers will deliver everything to your new place tomorrow," Alea said. "Tonight, you're staying with me. Wine, takeout, and no men allowed." My phone lit up one final time, an email from Simon's corporate board, seeking testimony regarding fraudulent activities between 2019-2023, willing to offer immunity. "Forward it to the legal team," I told Alea. "I'm done looking backward." As we drove away, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the car window. I was still wearing my grandmother's bracelet, but everything else had changed. The invisible wife had vanished, replaced by someone stronger, someone who learned that the best revenge isn't served cold, it's served with receipts. "Ready for your new life?" Alea asked. I deleted Simon's number from my phone. More than ready. The Portuguese sun warmed my face as I reviewed applications for my women's entrepreneurship program on my villa's terrace. My phone buzzed. Alea's familiar FaceTime ring. "Have you seen the news?" she asked without preamble. "Simon took a plea deal." "How long?" I sipped my coffee, watching fishing boats dot the horizon. 5 years, plus restitution to all his victims, including your parents. My laptop chimed with a new email. Simon's name in my inbox still made my stomach clench. Even now. "Sam, I'm writing this before they take me in. I've had time to think about everything. About how I tried to make you small so I could feel big. About how I never saw you building your empire right under my nose. You were always smarter than me. I just couldn't handle that truth. I'm sorry. For everything. Simon." "Delete it?" Alea asked, watching my face. "Already done." I turned back to the applications. How many women are we helping escape marriages like mine this quarter? 32 enrolled in the program. Your Tokyo investors doubled the funding after seeing the success rates. My doorbell rang. Evelyn stood there, looking tanned and relaxed. Retirement suited her, even if it had come through unexpected circumstances. "Surprise!" She hugged me. "I was in Barcelona for that cooking course you recommended. Thought I'd pop over." "Perfect timing," I smiled. "I'm reviewing candidates for the foundation. The one that helps women rebuild after divorce." She settled into a chair. "Your grandmother would have loved that." I touched my bracelet, still my daily reminder of strength. She helped me see my worth when I couldn't. Now I get to do that for others. My phone lit up with a text from Max. "Dad's finally signing over his share of the family business to me. Said it's time to make things right." "Speaking of right," Evelyn pulled out her tablet. "Look what Poppy's doing now." The Instagram post showed Poppy at a women's business seminar, one of mine, though she didn't know that. The caption read, "Learning to stand on my own feet. No more depending on men who only see me as arm candy." Ironic, I mused, but progress is progress. Alia's face reappeared on my phone. "The Tokyo merger is trending on LinkedIn. They're calling you the Silent Phoenix, the woman who built an empire in the shadows of her husband's collapse." "I prefer just Sam," I said, closing my laptop. "The woman who learned her worth wasn't measured by her husband's opinion." "Mom's here for the board meeting?" Alea asked. Evelyn nodded. "Wouldn't miss it. First quarterly review of the foundation's impact." My phone buzzed with another message. Cyrus. "Investment group expansion approved. Opening 3 new chapters across Europe." "You're changing lives, Sam." "No," I typed back. "We're helping women change their own lives." A notification popped up. Simon's company building was being converted into a women's business incubator. The poetic justice made me smile. "You never answered his apology," Evelyn noted, reading over my shoulder. "Some apologies come too late," I replied. "Besides, I'm not interested in his words anymore. I'm interested in his victims' futures." My laptop chimed again. Another application for the foundation. A woman describing her husband's financial abuse, her secret savings, her dreams of independence. "Take her," Evelyn said softly. "She reminds me of you." "No," I corrected. already typing an acceptance email. She reminds me of who I became when I stopped being afraid. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across my terrace as I prepared for the board meeting. Women from 3 continents would be calling in, each running a chapter of what began as my quiet revenge and grew into a movement. "Ready?" Alea asked through the phone. I looked around my villa, bought with the first Tokyo contract, filled with art I chose, decorated in colors Simon would have hated. My grandmother's bracelet caught the light as I opened the video conference. Faces filled my screen. Women who'd escaped, women who'd rebuilt, women who now helped others do the same. None of them knew about Simon, about my story. They just knew me as Sam, the founder who understood their journey. "Welcome, everyone," I began. "Let's talk about how we're going to help more women write their own endings." My phone lit up one last time, a news alert about Simon's sentencing. I dismissed it without reading. His story wasn't mine anymore. Mine was just beginning, and it had nothing to do with revenge. It had everything to do with women who were done being invisible. Now, I smiled at the faces on my screen. Who's ready to change some lives? The answers came in many languages, but they all meant the same thing. We were done being small.
It's just a hobby, Gianna. Let's be honest. You're playing at being a businesswoman while I actually am one. Those were Reggie's last words to me as he walked out our front door, designer luggage in hand, leaving me standing in my living room on a rainy Tuesday evening. I'm Gianna, and this is how my husband of 12 years left me for his 20-something secretary. I should have seen it coming. The late nights at the office, the sudden interest in his appearance, the mysterious text messages. But I was too focused on building my non-profit, Women Rise, to notice the signs. Or maybe I just didn't want to see them. "You can't just leave like this," I called after him, my voice steadier than I felt. "We need to talk about this properly." He turned back, that familiar condescending smile on his face. "There's nothing to talk about. Stephanie understands what I need. She supports my ambitions instead of chasing her own little dreams." The slam of his car door echoed through our quiet suburban street. I watched through the window as his BMW disappeared into the darkness, taking with it 12 years of what I thought was a partnership. My phone buzzed. It was my sister, Jacqueline. "Hey, you okay? Kinley just called me about Reggie." "He's gone," I said, sinking into my leather couch. "He left for Stephanie." "That absolute bastard," Jacqueline spat. "I'm coming over, don't move." "Jackie, you don't have to." "Shut up, I'm already in my car." 30 minutes later, we sat in my kitchen, a bottle of wine between us. Jacqueline poured generously while I scrolled through my phone, looking at pictures of Stephanie's Instagram. Young, blonde, perpetually smiling in designer clothes, I recognized from Reggie's recent business expenses. "Stop torturing yourself," Jacqueline said, taking my phone. "Tell me about the non-profit instead. How's the fundraising going?" I laughed bitterly. "According to Reggie, it's just a hobby." "Screw what Reggie thinks. How many women have you helped so far?" 23, I said automatically. "We've helped 23 women start their own businesses this year. Small ones, but still." "That's not a hobby, that's changing lives." Jacqueline leaned forward. "Remember Maria, the single mom who started that cleaning company? She has 5 employees now." The doorbell rang, interrupting us. It was Kinley carrying 3 pints of ice cream and a determined expression. "I brought reinforcements," she announced, dropping the ice cream on the counter. "Also, you should know Reggie's already changed his relationship status on Facebook." My stomach lurched. "Already?" "He's an ass," Kinley declared, grabbing spoons from the drawer she knew as well as I did. "But you know what? This might be the best thing that could have happened." I stared at her. "How exactly is my husband leaving me for his secretary the best thing? Because now you can focus on what really matters without him undermining you every step of the way." Kinley jabbed her spoon in my direction. "When was the last time he actually supported your work?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "He came to the launch party." "Yeah, and spent the whole time telling everyone it was your little project," Jacqueline reminded me. Face it, sis. He's been holding you back. My phone buzzed again. This time it was an email from a potential donor, expressing interest in funding our next workshop series. The amount made my eyes widen. Holy shit, I whispered, showing the screen to Jacqueline and Kinley. See? Kinley grinned. The universe works in mysterious ways. Reply to them now, Jacqueline insisted. Right now. As I typed out a response, my hands shaking slightly, I could feel something shifting inside me. The hurt was still there, raw and pulsing, but underneath it was something else, something that felt a lot like freedom. You know what the worst part is, I said, hitting send on the email. He really believes I'm nothing without him, that everything I've built is just playing pretend. Then prove him wrong, Kinley said simply. I looked at these two women, my sister and my best friend, who had dropped everything to be here with me. Then I looked at the email I'd just sent, confirming a meeting that could change everything for Women Rise. You know what? I said, reaching for the wine bottle. I think I will. The rain had stopped outside, and through the kitchen window I could see stars beginning to peek through the clouds. Somewhere across town, Reggie was probably celebrating with Stephanie, thinking he'd won, thinking he'd left me broken. He had no idea what he'd actually done. He'd set me free. 2 weeks after Reggie left, I was knee-deep in grant applications when I heard their voices. I'd stopped by our favourite coffee shop. Well, my favourite now, to work, and there they were, just around the corner. Baby, you don't need to worry about her, Reggie's voice carried over. Gianna's probably still crying into her pillow. I froze, coffee halfway to my lips. Through the decorative partition I could see them clearly. Reggie in his expensive suit, Stephanie perched on the edge of her chair like a bird ready to take flight. But people are talking, Stephanie said, twirling her hair nervously. At the office? Let them talk. In 6 months, no one will remember. I pulled out my phone and texted Kinley. Guess who's sitting 10 feet away from me? Her response was immediate. Get out of there. But I couldn't move. Not yet. What about her non-profit thing? Stephanie asked. Karen from accounting said they're getting attention. Reggie laughed, that dismissive sound I'd grown to hate. Trust me, without my connections it'll fizzle out in no time. Gianna's good at starting things, terrible at finishing them. My phone buzzed again. This time it was an email from the potential donor we'd been courting. My hands shook as I opened it. Dear Gianna, we're impressed with Women Rise's mission and track record. Would you be available to present your expansion plans to our board next week? Best regards, Marcus. I stood up so quickly my chair scraped against the floor. Reggie and Stephanie turned at the noise. His face went pale. Gianna, he started. Don't let me interrupt your coffee date, I said, gathering my things. But you might want to fact-check your information, Reggie. Women Rise just landed its biggest opportunity yet, without any of your connections. Stephanie's mouth fell open. Reggie's jaw clenched in that familiar way that used to intimidate me. Not anymore. Outside, I called Jacqueline. You'll never believe what just happened, I said, walking quickly down the street. Tell me everything, she demanded. As I recounted the scene, she interrupted with appropriate gasps and curses. But wait, she said when I finished. What's this about a board presentation? That's the crazy part. It's real. Marcus wants me to present next week. Holy shit, Guy. This is huge. And I'm terrified, I admitted, stopping at a crosswalk. What if Reggie's right? What if I can't finish what I started? Get your ass to my house right now, Jacqueline commanded. We're planning this presentation until it's perfect. 3 hours later, I sat surrounded by notes and empty coffee cups in Jacqueline's home office. Kinley had joined us, bringing her marketing expertise and a box of donuts. So when you talk about the impact, Kinley said, pointing to my draft, lead with Maria's story. People connect with individuals more than statistics. And mention the waiting list, Jacqueline added. Shows there's demand. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. It was Stephanie. I'm sorry about today. I didn't know you were there. Can we talk? I showed the message to Kinley and Jacqueline. Delete it, Kinley said immediately. Wait, Jacqueline held up a hand. This could be interesting. What if she knows something about Reggie's business? He's been acting weird about work lately. I thought about Stephanie's nervous expression in the coffee shop, the way she'd mentioned people talking at the office. "I'll think about it," I said, putting the phone away. "Right now, this presentation is more important." We worked until midnight, refining every slide, practicing every point. As I drove home, exhausted but excited, I thought about how different this felt from my marriage. With Reggie, every achievement came with a caveat, every success with a subtle undermining comment. The next morning, I walked into Women Rise's small office to find Maria waiting for me. "Gianna," she hugged me tight. "I had to come tell you in person. We just landed a contract with that big tech company. My team is growing to 12 people. I hugged her back, tears pricking my eyes. "Maria, that's amazing. It's because of you," she said firmly. "You believed in me when nobody else would." As I watched her leave, practically bouncing with excitement, I opened my laptop and started a new document. At the top, I typed, "Board Presentation. How Women Rise is Transforming Lives." Reggie was wrong. This wasn't a hobby. This was a revolution. One woman at a time. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Stephanie. This time I opened it. "There are things you should know about what's happening at the company. Things aren't what they seem." I stared at the message for a long moment before replying, "Coffee tomorrow? Just us." The board presentation went better than I could have imagined. As I walked out of the sleek downtown office building, my phone exploded with messages from Jacqueline and Kinley. "Well," Kinley demanded, "they want to fund our expansion. All of it." My voice shook as I spoke. "And there's more." "More?" Jacqueline squealed. "A law firm partner was sitting in on the presentation. He wants to meet about providing pro bono legal services for our clients." I could hear them both screaming through the phone. As I headed to my car, a notification popped up, a news alert about Reggie's company. The headline made me stop in my tracks. "Tech giant faces investigation over financial discrepancies." "Are you guys seeing this?" I forwarded them the article. "Holy shit," Kinley breathed. "Is this what Stephanie was trying to tell you?" I thought back to our coffee meeting yesterday. Stephanie had shown up looking nervous, designer handbag clutched tight against her chest. "I shouldn't be telling you this," she'd said, voice barely above a whisper. "But Reggie and Emmett, they've been moving money around. Big amounts. I've seen the transfers." "Why are you telling me this?" I'd asked. "Because I'm scared." Her perfectly manicured hands had trembled around her cup. "And because you deserve to know." Now, standing in the parking garage, I watched as my phone lit up with another call, this time from Connor, the law firm partner. "Gianna, I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time." "Not at all," I said, trying to sound composed. "Listen, I was impressed with your presentation today, very impressed. But I also couldn't help noticing something interesting. Your ex-husband's company is one we've been watching closely." My heart skipped a beat. "Oh? Would you be willing to come by my office tomorrow? There's something we should discuss." After hanging up, I sat in my car for a long moment, hands gripping the steering wheel. My phone buzzed again, a text from Emmett, Reggie's business partner. "Need to talk. Urgent. Please." I showed up at Women Rise's office to find Maria waiting with a cake and our other success stories, women who'd built businesses through our program. They'd heard about the funding. "Speech," someone called out. I looked at their faces, saw the hope and determination there. This isn't just about money. It's about proving that when women support each other, incredible things happen. "Amen," Maria shouted, and everyone laughed. Later that evening, as I was leaving, Kinley rushed in. "Have you seen the latest?" She thrust her phone at me. On the screen was a business news site with Reggie's face prominently displayed. The article detailed growing concerns about the company's financial practices. "Stephanie was right," I murmured. "What are you going to do?" I thought about Connor's call, about Emmett's text, about Stephanie's trembling hands. "I'm going to do what we teach our women to do," I said. "I'm going to be strategic." The next morning I walked into Connor's law firm wearing my best suit and carrying a folder full of documents Stephanie had quietly shared with me. "Gianna," Connor stood to greet me, his corner office overlooking the city. "Thank you for coming." "Before we start," I said, placing the folder on his desk, "I should show you these." His eyebrows rose as he flipped through the pages. Where did you get these? Let's just say not everyone at my ex-husband's company is comfortable with their practices. Connor leaned back in his chair, studying me. You know, when I saw your presentation yesterday, I thought, here's someone who really understands empowerment. Now I see I was right. What exactly are you proposing? A partnership. Your organization provides support to women in business. We provide legal protection. And maybe, he tapped the folder, we work together to ensure certain business practices come to light. As I left his office an hour later, I got another text from Emmett. Please, things are falling apart. Need your help. I typed back. Okay, tomorrow, 10 a.m. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat on my balcony thinking about karma, about justice, about the fine line between revenge and doing what's right. My phone lit up with a text from Stephanie. He knows I told you. He's furious. What do? I replied immediately. Come to my office first thing tomorrow. I think I have a solution. The pieces were falling into place, but not in the way I'd expected. This wasn't about getting back at Reggie anymore. It was about something bigger, about standing up for what's right, about helping others find their strength. Tomorrow would change everything. And this time, I was ready. Stephanie arrived at my office at 8 a.m. sharp, mascara smeared from crying. He threw a glass at the wall last night, she said, dropping into a chair. I've never seen him like this. Before I could respond, my assistant poked her head in. Emmett's here. I know he's early, but send him in. Emmett burst through the door, his usually impeccable appearance disheveled. He stopped short when he saw Stephanie. What is she doing here? Sitting down, I said firmly. And you're going to do the same. He collapsed into the other chair, running his hands through his hair. Gianna, everything's falling apart. The auditors are coming tomorrow and you're worried they'll find the offshore accounts? Stephanie's voice was quiet but steady. Emmett's head snapped up. How did you... I'm a secretary, not stupid, she said. I see everything that crosses Reggie's desk. I pulled out the folder Connor had helped me prepare. Here's what's going to happen. You're both going to tell me everything, and then we're going to fix this the right way. There is no right way, Emmett exploded. We're talking about millions in misappropriated funds. Reggie's been cooking the books since last year, Stephanie finished. I have copies of everything. I leaned forward. Why didn't you come forward sooner? Because I loved him, Stephanie whispered. Or I thought I did. Now I realize I was just another thing he was using. My phone buzzed. Connor was calling. Excuse me, I need to take this. In the hallway, Connor's voice was urgent. Gianna, the SEC is moving faster than we anticipated. They're raiding the offices today. Today? I glanced through my office window where Emmett was now pacing. But we haven't. Turn on the news. I rushed back in and grabbed the remote, turning on the office TV. There it was. Live footage of federal agents entering Reggie's building. Emmett's phone started ringing. Reggie's name flashed on the screen. Don't answer it, I said sharply. Listen to me, both of you. Right now, you have a choice. You can either go down with him, or you can do the right thing. What's the right thing? Stephanie asked. Tell the truth, all of it. Connor's firm will represent you both, as witnesses, not defendants. Emmett's phone kept ringing. He stared at it, then at me. Why are you helping us? Because unlike Reggie, I believe in second chances. I handed them each Connor's card. Call him. Now. As they made their calls, Jacqueline burst in. Have you seen the news? Yeah. She hugged me tight. Are you okay? I'm better than okay, I realized. I'm finally seeing clearly. My phone buzzed again, a text from Reggie. What have you done? Before I could respond, another message came through. This one from Connor. Check your email. Urgent. The email contained a formal invitation to join his firm's advisory board, focusing on women's entrepreneurship and corporate ethics. Holy shit, Jacqueline breathed, reading over my shoulder. Emmett finished his call first. Connor wants us at his office now. Stephanie stood, wiping her eyes. Gianna, I'm so sorry for everything. Don't be sorry. Be better. I handed her a Women Rise business card. When you're ready, come to one of our workshops. After they left, Jacqueline turned to me. You're being awfully nice to the woman who stole your husband. She didn't steal him, I said, watching them hurry to their cars through the window. She just borrowed him long enough to learn the same lesson I did. My phone lit up again, Reggie calling this time. I answered and put it on speaker. You vindictive bitch, he snarled. You planned this whole thing. No, Reggie, you did this to yourself. I just decided not to protect you anymore. You'll regret this. The only thing I regret, I cut him off, is not seeing you for what you were sooner. Goodbye, Reggie. I hung up as Kinley rushed in. The news is everywhere. And guess what? 3 more corporate sponsors just called about partnering with Women Rise. Of course they did, Jacqueline laughed. Nothing attracts success like success. My computer pinged with another email from Connor. Board meeting tomorrow at 9. We're announcing your appointment. Wear something camera ready. I looked around my office, at the vision board covered in our success stories, at the friends who'd supported me, at the future suddenly spreading out bright and clear before me. You know what? I said. I think it's time for lunch. Something expensive, with champagne. Now you're talking, Kinley grinned. As we headed out, my phone buzzed one last time. A message from Maria. Just saw the news. You taught us to stand up for ourselves. Looks like you took your own advice. Proud of you. I smiled, slipping my phone away. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all, it's simply living well and doing right. The media storm hit faster than anyone expected. I was in Connor's office reviewing documents for my board appointment when his assistant rushed in. You need to see this, she said, turning on the wall-mounted TV. There was Reggie, looking haggard in an expensive suit, standing outside the federal building. Reporters swarmed around him like sharks. These allegations are completely unfounded, he was saying, and I find it interesting that my ex-wife's sudden success coincides with these baseless accusations. Connor muted the TV. He's trying to drag you into this. Let him try, I said, but my hands were shaking as I checked my phone. Already my inbox was flooding with media requests. Gianna, Connor leaned forward, we need to get ahead of this. The firm's PR team wants to schedule a press conference. My phone rang. It was Kinley. Turn on channel 7 right now. I grabbed the remote and changed the channel. There was Stephanie, looking poised and professional, speaking to a reporter. And that's why I've decided to cooperate fully with the investigation. The women who trusted this company deserve the truth. Did you know she was doing this? Connor asked. No, but... I smiled. I'm proud of her. The day became a blur of meetings and phone calls. By afternoon, I was back at Women Rise's office when Maria burst in. You won't believe who just called. That big tech company that contracted us. They want to expand our services to all their locations. All of them. Before I could respond, my assistant appeared. Gianna, Emmett's here again. He says it's urgent. Emmett looked worse than yesterday. They're trying to pin everything on me, he said without preamble. Reggie and the board. They're saying I acted alone. We have the documents, I reminded him. Stephanie's testimony. They're saying she's lying to protect Reggie. He slumped in the chair. I should have known he'd do this. My phone buzzed. A text from Connor. Turn on CNBC now. The headline scrolling across the screen made my heart stop. Tech giant board seeks emergency meeting with Women Rise founder. What the hell? Emmett stared at the screen. My phone rang again. This time it was Jacqueline. Did you see? They're desperate. They want you to help save their reputation. I looked at Emmett, then at the TV, then at Maria, who was still beaming about her contract expansion. An idea started forming. Tell Connor I need to see him immediately, I told my assistant. Then to Emmett. Don't talk to anyone else. Not yet. An hour later, I sat in Connor's office with his PR team. It's risky, the PR director said, but it could work. More than work, Connor added. It could change everything. My phone lit up with a text from Stephanie. They're offering me money to recant my statement. A lot of money. I showed Connor the message. Perfect timing, he said. Are you ready for this? Ready for what? I asked. To become the face of corporate ethics reform. He handed me a press release draft. We're not just fighting Reggie anymore. We're changing the whole game. Back at my office, I found Kinley waiting with takeout. Eat, she commanded. You look like you haven't all day. Have you seen the latest? I asked, grabbing a container. About the board wanting to meet? Everyone's seen it. What are you going to do? Before I could answer, my assistant appeared again. Sorry to interrupt, but... Reggie's downstairs. Kinley stood up. Want me to call security? No, I said, straightening my jacket. Send him up. Reggie looked nothing like the polished executive who'd left me months ago. His eyes were bloodshot, his tie askew. You have to help me, he said as soon as he walked in. The board? They're going to... Going to what? Tell the truth? You don't understand. Everything I built, everything you stole, I corrected, everything you lied about. I made you, he snarled, suddenly angry. You were nothing before me. That's where you're wrong, I said calmly. I was always something. You just couldn't see it. My phone buzzed. Another text from Connor. Board meeting scheduled for tomorrow, 9 a.m. Ready to make history. I looked at Reggie, this man I'd once loved, now reduced to desperate schemes and empty threats. Security will show you out, I said, pressing the intercom. And Reggie, don't come back. As he was led away, Kinley hugged me. You okay? Better than okay. I picked up my phone to text Connor back. Ready, let's change the world. Tomorrow would be big, but for the first time in my life, I felt completely prepared for whatever came next. The boardroom was exactly as intimidating as I'd imagined, all mahogany and leather, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. 12 pairs of eyes watched me as I took my seat, Connor beside me. Ms. Gardner, the board chairman began, we appreciate you meeting with us during this difficult time. Difficult is an interesting choice of words, I replied, keeping my voice steady. I'd go with fraudulent. A murmur rippled through the room. Connor subtly nodded his approval. We're prepared to offer Women Rise a substantial grant, another board member cut in exchange for your discretion. I opened my laptop. Before we continue, I'd like to show you something. The presentation screen lit up with faces, dozens of them. Women of all ages, backgrounds, stories. These are our success stories, I said. Women who rebuilt their lives after people like you tried to silence them. Ms. Gardner, the chairman interrupted, we're not here to discuss. Maria, I continued, clicking to her photo. Single mother of 3, built $1 million cleaning company. Sarah escaped domestic violence, now owns a thriving bakery. Rebecca, enough! A red-faced board member slammed his hand on the table. This is blackmail. No, I said calmly. This is accountability. My phone buzzed. A message from Jacqueline. It's done. Check your email. I smiled. You might want to check your phones, gentlemen. One by one, they pulled out their devices. Faces paled as they read the breaking news. Stephanie and Emmett had just held a joint press conference, providing detailed evidence of the board's involvement in the financial scandal. You planned this, the chairman said quietly. Actually, you did. The moment you decided to value profit over people. I stood up. Here's what's going to happen. Women Rise will take over your corporate responsibility program. We'll implement new ethics policies with oversight from Connor's firm. And every woman affected by your fraud will receive full restitution. Or, someone asked, or the SEC gets the rest of the documents. Your choice. Connor pulled out a thick contract. We've prepared the paperwork. As they passed the contract around, my phone lit up again. This time it was Stephanie. Just saw Reggie. He's heading your way. Be careful. Right on cue, the boardroom door burst open. Reggie stood there looking wild-eyed and desperate. Don't sign anything, he demanded. She's manipulating you. Like you manipulated the books? I asked. Or like you manipulated Stephanie? You bitch, he spat. I made you. No. The chairman stood up. You destroyed yourself. Security. As two guards led Reggie away, his shouts echoing down the hallway, I felt nothing but pity. "The papers are signed," Connor said quietly. "It's done." Back in my office, I found Kinley and Jacqueline waiting with champagne. "To karma," Kinley toasted. "To justice," Jacqueline added. My phone rang, Maria this time. "I just saw the news. Is it true? Are they really funding expansion to all 50 states?" "It's true," I confirmed. "How would you like to head up our West Coast division?" Her squeal of delight was answer enough. As evening fell, I sat in my office watching the city lights come on. A soft knock at the door made me turn. "Got a minute?" Stephanie asked. "Come in." She looked different, stronger somehow. "I wanted to thank you for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. That's what Women Rise is all about. I've been thinking," she said, fidgeting with her purse strap. "Would you consider, would it be weird if I applied for your program?" I opened my desk drawer and pulled out an application form. "Already filled out most of it for you. Just need your signature." Her eyes welled up. "After everything I did—" "The past is past," I said firmly. "What matters is what we do next." My phone buzzed one last time for the day. Connor again. "Press conference tomorrow at 9. Ready to announce the biggest corporate ethics overhaul in history." I looked at Stephanie, already absorbed in the application. Thought about Maria heading west to expand our mission. Remembered Reggie's face as security led him away. "Ready," I texted back. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's creating something so beautiful from the ashes of what hurt you that people forget there was ever a fire in the first place. "Welcome to Women Rise," I told Stephanie. "Let's change the world." The press conference room was packed. Camera flashes popped like lightning as I approached the podium, Connor and the board chairman flanking me on either side. "Good morning," I began, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "Today marks a new chapter in corporate responsibility." Halfway through my speech, movement at the back of the room caught my eye. Reggie had slipped in, looking disheveled in yesterday's suit. Our eyes met briefly before I continued. "Women Rise isn't just about business success. It's about ethical leadership, about standing up when others want you to sit down, It's about revenge," Reggie's voice cut through the room. "Tell them the truth, Gianna." Security moved toward him, but I held up my hand. "Let him speak." "You orchestrated this whole thing," he accused, moving down the aisle. "You turned Stephanie against me, convinced Emmett to lie. Actually," Stephanie's voice rang out as she stood from her seat in the front row, "you did that yourself. Show them, Gianna." I nodded to Connor, who clicked to the next slide. The screen filled with emails, documents, transfer records, all in Reggie's own words. "The truth," I said into the sudden silence, "is that no one had to orchestrate anything. The evidence speaks for itself." Reporters' hands shot up everywhere. Questions flew like arrows. "Mr. Patterson, how do you respond to these allegations?" "Ms. Gardner, what's next for Women Rise? Is it true about the 50-state expansion?" I raised my hands for quiet. Today isn't about allegations or accusations. It's about transformation, about taking something broken and making it better. Maria stood up next. "I can speak to that transformation. 3 years ago, I was cleaning houses alone. Today, I employ 30 people, and thanks to Women Rise's new initiative, we're expanding nationwide." More women stood up throughout the room. All success stories from our program. Each had a story, each had rebuilt something from nothing. Reggie's face contorted. "This is ridiculous. You're all being fooled by—" "That's enough," the board chairman stepped forward. "Security, please remove Mr. Patterson." As they led him out, I could see Emmett waiting in the wings, papers in hand. He nodded grimly, more evidence ready if needed. "Now," I continued, "let's talk about the future. Today, we're announcing the largest corporate ethics initiative in our state's history. But more importantly, we're announcing a partnership that will help thousands of women achieve their dreams." The rest of the press conference flew by in a blur of questions, answers, and camera flashes. Afterward, in the green room, Jacqueline hugged me tight. "Did you see his face?" she whispered. "When all those women stood up." "I wasn't looking at him," I replied. "I was looking at them." Kinley burst in with her phone. "You're trending. The hashtag #WomenRiseUp is everywhere." Connor appeared in the doorway. "Gianna, got a minute? There's someone you should meet." He led me to a small conference room where a woman in a sharp suit waited. "This is Senator Amanda Walsh. She's interested in taking our initiative national." The senator extended her hand. "Ms. Gardner, what you've done here, it's exactly what we need in Washington. How would you feel about testifying before Congress?" Before I could respond, my assistant rushed in. "Sorry to interrupt, but you need to see this." She held up her tablet. On the screen was a breaking news alert. "Tech giant CEO arrested on federal charges." The image showed Reggie being led away in handcuffs. "I should feel something," I said quietly. "Satisfaction, maybe. Or justice." "What do you feel?" Jacqueline asked. "Ready," I replied, turning back to the senator. "When's the hearing?" Later that evening, I sat in my office with Stephanie, reviewing her business plan for a consulting firm focused on corporate ethics. "You know what's ironic?" she said, looking up from the papers. "If Reggie hadn't been so determined to prove you were nothing without him, none of this would have happened." "Sometimes our biggest critics become our best motivators," I replied. My phone buzzed. A message from Maria in California. "West Coast office is ready. When can you come out?" Another text followed from Connor. "Congressional hearing scheduled for next month. PR team wants to meet tomorrow." And finally, one from Kinley. "Turn on the news. They're calling it the biggest corporate ethics reform in decades." I walked to the window, watching the city lights flicker on. Somewhere out there, Reggie was sitting in a cell, probably still believing this was all about him. He'd never understand that this had stopped being about him long ago. This was about every woman who'd ever been told her dreams were just hobbies. Every person who'd been underestimated, overlooked, pushed aside. My phone buzzed one more time. The senator. "Ready to change the world?" I smiled, typing back 2 words. "Already am." The congressional hearing room buzzed with anticipation. I adjusted my microphone as Senator Walsh began her questioning. "Ms. Gardner, please explain to the committee how Women Rise transformed from a local nonprofit into a national movement for corporate ethics reform." Before I could answer, my phone vibrated. A message from Jacqueline. "Look at the back row. There sat Reggie's mother, Patricia, watching intently. She'd called me yesterday apologizing for her son's actions, asking to attend. Beside her sat Stephanie, who gave me a subtle thumbs up. It started with one woman," I began, "who was told her dreams were just hobbies. But it grew into something bigger when we realized how many others shared similar stories. The questioning continued for hours. I presented our data, shared our successes, and outlined our vision for nationwide reform. When Senator Walsh asked about Reggie's company, I didn't flinch. "The fraud we uncovered wasn't just about money," I explained. "It was about power, about who gets to decide whose dreams matter." During the break, Patricia approached me, tears in her eyes. "I always knew you were special," she said, hugging me tight. "I'm so sorry I didn't speak up sooner about what I saw happening." "You're here now," I replied. "That's what matters." My phone lit up with a message from Maria. "West Coast offices just signed our 100th client. When are you coming to visit?" Before I could reply, Connor appeared. "They're ready for the afternoon session, and, Gianna, the committee's going to announce their decision today instead of next week." Back at the microphone, I watched as Senator Walsh shuffled her papers. "Based on the compelling testimony and evidence presented," she announced, "this committee is recommending immediate implementation of the Women Rise Corporate Ethics Initiative across all 50 states. The room erupted in applause. Stephanie grabbed my hand, squeezing tight. "Furthermore," the senator continued, "we're establishing a permanent oversight committee, and we'd like Ms. Gardner to serve as its inaugural chairperson." My phone buzzed again. Kinley had sent a photo of our original Women Rise office, now empty as we'd moved to larger premises. Her message read, "Remember when this was just a hobby?" After the hearing, I found Emmett waiting outside. "They're offering me immunity," he said, in exchange for testifying against the remaining board members. Take it, I advised. Then come work for us. We need people who understand how to prevent what happened from happening again. That evening, I hosted a dinner at my home. Maria flew in from California, Jacqueline brought champagne, and Kinley arrived with a frame. Inside was the first business card I'd ever printed for Women Rise. A reminder, she said, of how far we've come. Stephanie arrived last carrying files. The final numbers came in. We've helped over 1,000 women start businesses this year alone. As we celebrated, my phone rang. It was Connor. Turn on the news, he said. Right now. We gathered around the TV to see Reggie being led from court after his sentencing hearing. But that wasn't the story. The headline read, Women Rise Initiative Becomes Law. Corporate Reform Goes National. To new beginnings, Jacqueline toasted. And old lessons, Patricia added softly. My phone lit up one last time, a message from an unknown number. It was Reggie. You won. Are you happy now? I looked around my living room at these amazing women. At Patricia, who'd found her voice. At Stephanie, who'd discovered her strength. At Maria, building her empire. At Jacqueline and Kinley, who'd believed in me before I fully believed in myself. Actually, I typed back, this was never about winning or losing. It was about rising up. Then I deleted his number for good. Speech, Maria called out, raising her glass. I stood looking at these faces I'd grown to love. Someone once told me I was nothing without him. But he was wrong. We're all something, all capable of amazing things. Sometimes we just need someone to believe in us until we learn to believe in ourselves. To believing in ourselves? They echoed. Later, as the evening wound down, I stepped onto my balcony. The city lights sparkled below, each one perhaps representing another woman with dreams waiting to rise. My phone buzzed with a final message. Senator Walsh. Ready to start changing more lives tomorrow. I smiled, thinking of all the women out there waiting for their chance to rise. Thinking of how what started as one person's hobby had transformed into a movement. Tomorrow, I typed back. Why wait? The work continues tonight. Because that's the thing about rising. Once you start, you never really stop. You just help others rise with you. The first thing I noticed when I walked into my childhood home was that my mother had vanished. Not physically, she'd been gone for 2 years now. But every trace of her existence had been meticulously erased. Where her favourite painting of sunflowers once brightened the entryway, an abstract piece in cold blues and greys now dominated the wall. Her antique side table, the one she'd lovingly restored herself, had been replaced by a sleek, modern console. I'm Beatrice, and I was standing in what felt like a stranger's house. Darling, you're early. Francesca's voice carried from the kitchen, syrupy sweet and somehow still sharp. My father's new wife emerged, wiping her hands on an apron I'd never seen before. We weren't expecting you for another hour. Traffic was light, I managed, my throat tight. Where's Dad? Still at the office. You know how he gets with his cases? She gestured around the transformed space. Do you like what I've done with the place? It needed a fresh start, don't you think? Before I could answer, the front door opened again. My brother Jeremy walked in, his tie loosened and jacket slung over his shoulder. His eyes met mine, and I saw my own discomfort reflected there. B, he said, pulling me into a quick hug. You look tired, I supplied. It's been a long drive. Children, Francesca clapped her hands. Why don't you both help me set the table? I've made my special risotto. As we followed her to the dining room, I noticed my mother's china cabinet was gone. In its place stood a minimalist shelving unit, displaying abstract sculptures. Where's Mom's china? The words burst out before I could stop them. Francesca paused, her back stiffening slightly. Oh, those old things. They were quite dated, weren't they? I've packed them away somewhere safe. Somewhere safe, I echoed. They're family heirlooms. Bay, Jeremy warned quietly. The doorbell rang. saving us from the brewing tension. Francesca brightened immediately. That must be Noelle. I invited my sister to join us. I watched as she hurried to the door, greeting a tall woman with the same honey-blonde hair but sharper features. Something passed between the sisters, a look I couldn't quite interpret, before Noelle's smile fixed firmly in place. "You must be Beatrice," Noelle said, extending her hand. "I've heard so much about you." "Funny," I replied, shaking her hand. "I've heard almost nothing about you." Dad arrived just as Francesca was serving dinner. He kissed her cheek, ruffled my hair like I was still 12, and took his place at the head of the table, my mother's old chair. "So, Beatrice," Francesca began, spooning risotto onto everyone's plates. "How's the final year of college going? Still pursuing that? What was it again?" "Psychology," I said. "And it's going well." "Ah, yes, psychology." She exchanged a meaningful look with my father. "Have you given any thought to law school?" "Your father and I were just discussing how well you'd fit into the family practice." I pushed the risotto around my plate. "I'm planning to get my master's in counselling, actually. I've already been accepted to—" "Beatrice," Dad interrupted, "we've talked about this. The firm needs fresh blood, and you've got the Ryan instincts." "I have my own plans, Dad." "Plans change, sweetheart." Francesca reached across the table to pat my hand. I resisted the urge to pull away. "Family should come first, don't you think?" That's when I noticed it. The way Noelle's knuckles whitened around her wine glass, the slight shake of her head at her sister's words. There was a story there, something hidden beneath the surface. "Speaking of family," I said carefully, "I was hoping to hang Mom's portrait back up in the study. I noticed it was taken down." The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Francesca's fork clinked against her plate. "Oh, darling," she said, her voice dripping with manufactured sympathy, "we agreed it was time to move forward, didn't we, Ulysses?" Dad cleared his throat. "It's for the best, Bea. We can't live in the past forever." I looked at Jeremy, but he was suddenly very interested in his food. Noelle, however, was watching her sister with an expression I couldn't quite read. Was it fear? Disgust? "Of course," I said finally, forcing a smile. "Moving forward. That's what Mom would want, right?" But as I sat there, watching Francesca orchestrate her perfect family dinner in my mother's house, wearing my mother's apron, which I'd just recognized, serving food on new plates that erased decades of family memories, I made a decision. This wasn't about moving forward. This was about erasure. And I wasn't going to let it happen. "She's literally erasing my mother from existence, Wendy." I paced back and forth in my best friend's apartment, clutching a cup of coffee that had long gone cold. You should have seen it. Every photo, every memento, gone. Wendy sat cross-legged on her couch, her laptop balanced on her knees. "Have you Googled her?" "Francesca, of course, but there's nothing except some charity event photos and her wedding announcement to Dad. Then we need to dig deeper." Wendy's fingers flew across the keyboard. "What did you say her sister's name was?" "Noelle." And there was definitely something off about their interaction at dinner. "Got her." Wendy turned the laptop toward me. "Noelle works at a real estate firm downtown. We could always pay her a friendly visit." I grabbed my jacket. "Let's go." The real estate office was all glass and chrome, with Noelle's name displayed prominently on one of the corner office doors. She looked up as we entered, her professional smile faltering when she recognized me. "Beatrice, this is unexpected." "I was in the neighborhood," I lied smoothly. "Thought I'd stop by and properly introduce my friend Wendy. We're actually looking for investment properties." Noelle's posture relaxed slightly. "Of course. Please, sit down." We spent 20 minutes discussing property values and market trends before I carefully steered the conversation toward family. "It must be nice having your sister so close by now," I said casually. "Have you always been in the same city?" Noelle's fingers tightened around her pen. "No, actually. Francesca moves around quite a bit." "Oh?" I leaned forward. "For work?" "Something like that." Noelle glanced at the door. "Look, Beatrice, I should probably—" "Did she move around with her first husband too?" The pen clattered to the desk. Who told you about... So there was a first husband, Wendy chimed in, her voice neutral but her eyes sharp. Noelle stood abruptly. I think you should leave. Please, I said, standing too. Something's not right here. I can feel it. My mother's memory is being systematically erased from our home, and my father acts like he's under some kind of spell. You don't understand what you're getting into. Noelle's voice dropped to a whisper. Francesca has a way of making things disappear when they don't suit her narrative. What things? People. Problems. The past. She glanced at her phone as it buzzed. Her face went pale. She's here. You need to leave. Now. But now, Beatrice. And if you're smart, you'll stop asking questions. Noelle grabbed my arm, her fingers digging in. There are things about my sister that... The office door swung open. Francesca stood there, immaculate in a cream-coloured suit, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Well, isn't this cosy? She stepped inside, closing the door behind her. Beatrice, darling, what a surprise. We were just looking at investment properties. Wendy jumped in smoothly. Your sister has been very helpful. Has she? Francesca's gaze locked onto Noelle. How thoughtful of her. Noelle seemed to shrink under her sister's stare. Just doing my job. Of course you are. Francesca turned to me. Beatrice, your father mentioned you were coming over for dinner again tonight. I'm making his favourite, pot roast. Actually, I have plans with Wendy. Cancel them. It wasn't a request. Family dinner is important, don't you think? Especially now that we're all getting to know each other better. The threat in her voice was subtle but unmistakable. I forced a smile. Of course. I'll be there. As we left the office, I heard Francesca's voice, low and dangerous. Sit down, Noelle. We need to talk about boundaries. In the elevator, Wendy grabbed my hand. Holy shit, Bea. Your stepmother is terrifying. Did you see Noelle's face when she walked in? Like she'd seen a ghost? Or the devil? Wendy pulled out her phone. I managed to snap a photo of Noelle's computer screen while she was distracted. Look at the tab she had open. I squinted at the image. It showed a news article from 5 years ago. Local business owner missing, foul play suspected. What does that have to do with... Look at the photo caption, Wendy pointed. The missing man's fiancée at the time? Francesca Simmons. My blood ran cold. We need to find out what happened to him. And what happened to her first husband, Wendy added. Because something tells me there's a lot more to your stepmother's past than a few charity events and a wedding announcement. As we stepped out into the sunlight, my phone buzzed with a text from Francesca. Looking forward to dinner, darling. We have so much to discuss. I showed it to Wendy, who shuddered. Be careful, Bea. I think we just kicked a hornet's nest. Good, I said, my jaw set. It's about time someone did. Jeremy cornered me in the driveway before I could make it into the house for Francesca's mandatory dinner. What the hell were you doing at Noelle's office? How did you... Francesca told Dad. He's furious. He ran a hand through his hair. What are you trying to prove, Bea? Don't you think it's weird that we know nothing about her? That she's systematically removing every trace of Mom from the house? People grieve differently. Dad's moving on. Maybe you should too. I pulled out my phone and showed him the article about the missing businessman. Is this moving on? Because it looks more like a pattern to me. Jeremy scanned the article, his face darkening. This doesn't prove anything. Then help me prove it. You're the one with the law degree. Don't you want to know who's really living in our house? Stop. He grabbed my arm. Just stop. You're going to tear this family apart. This family? I yanked free. This isn't our family, Jeremy. This is some twisted replacement version where we pretend Mom never existed. The front door opened, spilling warm light onto the driveway. Francesca stood silhouetted in the doorway. Children, dinner's getting cold. Inside, Dad was already seated at the table, his expression stormy. Beatrice, what's this I hear about you harassing Noelle at work? I wasn't harassing anyone. I was looking at properties. Don't lie to me. He slammed his hand on the table. Francesca says, Of course, Francesca says. I cut him off. Have you ever considered that maybe Francesca isn't telling you everything? That's enough. Dad stood up. I won't have you disrespecting my wife in our home. Your wife? I laughed bitterly. Which one? Because last time I checked, Mom's pictures used to hang in this home too. Francesca placed a hand on Dad's arm. Darling, she's just upset. Change is hard for young people. She turned to me, her voice honey-sweet. Beatrice, I know you're having trouble accepting me, but... Save it. I pulled out my phone again. Why don't you tell us about Marcus? The colour drained from Francesca's face. Who? Marcus. Your former fiancé. The one who mysteriously disappeared 5 years ago. Jeremy kicked me under the table, but I ignored him. I don't know what you're talking about, Francesca said, but her hands were shaking as she reached for her wine glass. Really? Because the police report says... There was no police report, she snapped, then caught herself. I mean, I don't know any Marcus. Dad looked between us, confusion clouding his features. Francesca. She's making things up, darling. Trying to cause trouble. Francesca's composure returned like a mask sliding into place. Perhaps Beatrice needs some time away from the family to sort through her... issues. My phone buzzed with a text from Wendy. Found marriage records. Call me now. I have to go. I stood up. But this isn't over. Sit down, Dad ordered. We're not finished here. Actually, we are. I headed for the door, then turned back. By the way, Dad, did you know Francesca was married before? Because I'm betting she didn't tell you about that either. The silence that followed me out was deafening. Back in my car, I called Wendy immediately. You're not going to believe this, she said without preamble. I found her first marriage license. She was married to a Thomas Wright, wealthy guy, real estate developer. What happened to him? That's the thing. He died. Boating accident. She inherited everything. When? 7 years ago. And get this. 2 years later, she's engaged to Marcus, who then disappears. Now she's married to your dad, who's also wealthy, I finished. And she's systematically taking control of everything. There's more, Wendy's voice dropped. I just got a weird email from someone named Terry. Says he used to work with Thomas Wright and has information about Francesca. Wants to meet. My phone buzzed with another incoming call, Jeremy. I have to go, I told Wendy. Set up the meeting with Terry. I switched calls. What? You were right, Jeremy said quietly. I just found some documents in Dad's study. Francesca's been having him sign over properties to her name. And there's something else. A life insurance policy. She took it out on him last month. My hands gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. Jeremy, I think Dad's in danger. I know, he paused. Be careful, Bea. After you left, the way she looked, I've never seen anyone look so cold. As if on cue, my phone lit up with a text from Francesca. You really should learn to mind your own business, dear. Some questions are better left unasked. I started my car, my heart pounding. We weren't just dealing with a woman trying to erase my mother's memory anymore. We were dealing with something far more dangerous. And time was running out. Terry chose a busy coffee shop downtown for our meeting. He was already there when I arrived, fidgeting with a thick manila envelope. I recognized him from Dad's law firm holiday parties. He'd been their real estate consultant for years before mysteriously quitting 3 months ago. Thanks for meeting me, I said, sliding into the seat across from him. I should have come forward sooner. Terry pushed the envelope toward me. But Francesca, she has a way of making problems disappear. Like Marcus, he flinched. I worked with Thomas Wright, her first husband. The boating accident wasn't an accident. My hand froze halfway to my coffee cup. What do you mean? Thomas was terrified of water, never went near it. But suddenly he decides to go sailing alone? Terry leaned forward. The insurance payout was substantial, just like Marcus's would have been if they'd ever found his body. Did you go to the police? With what? Circumstantial evidence? He tapped the envelope. But I've been gathering proof. Bank records, property transfers, insurance policies. There's a pattern. I opened the envelope. Inside were documents, photos, and newspaper clippings. One photo showed Francesca with Thomas. She looked younger, But that same calculated smile was there. Another showed her with Marcus, standing in front of a construction site. She finds wealthy men, Terry explained, isolates them from family, takes control of their assets, and then they disappear, I finished. Your father's next, Beatrice. She's already started the process, having him sign over properties, taking out life insurance. It's the same playbook she used with Thomas and Marcus. My phone buzzed, a text from Jeremy. Dad's acting weird. Francesca's got him taking some new vitamins she bought. Says they're for stress. I showed Terry the message. His face went pale. Thomas had stress vitamins too. The autopsy showed traces of something in his system, but nothing conclusive. I need copies of everything, I said, pulling out my phone to photograph the documents. Already done. Terry handed me a USB drive. But be careful. After Marcus disappeared, I started digging. Next thing I knew, someone broke into my house. Nothing was taken, but my files were clearly searched. Why are you helping me? Because Marcus was my friend. Terry's voice cracked. And because your father's a good man. He doesn't deserve what's coming. My phone buzzed again. Francesca this time. Having dinner with your father tonight. Shame you won't be joining us. I'm trying a new recipe. I have to go. I stood up quickly. Thank you, Terry. Beatrice. He caught my arm. There's something else. Your mother's death. Have you ever wondered? The coffee shop door chimed. Noelle walked in, saw us, and froze. Behind her, 2 men in dark suits entered. Get out! Terry hissed. Now! Back door! I clutched the envelope and USB drive, slipping through the crowded shop toward the kitchen. Behind me, I heard Noelle's voice. She was just here. The back alley was empty. I ran to my car, hands shaking as I tried to unlock it. My phone buzzed again. Dear Beatrice, curiosity killed the cat. Or in this case, might kill something else. Your father's looking quite pale tonight. Perhaps he needs more vitamins. Francesca, I called Jeremy immediately. Don't let Dad take any more vitamins, I said as soon as he answered. And don't let him eat anything Francesca gives him. What? Why? Just trust me. I'm on my way home. Don't let him out of your sight. I pulled into traffic, checking my rearview mirror for the men in suits. My phone rang. Terry. They're asking questions, he said quickly. I'll try to stall them, but there was a crash, then silence. Terry? Terry! Nothing. At a red light, I quickly photographed every document from the envelope, sending them to both Wendy and Jeremy. As I finished, a black SUV pulled up beside me. The driver was one of the men from the coffee shop. The light turned green. I floored it. The SUV followed. My phone rang again. Dad's number, but Francesca's voice answered. Beatrice, darling. Your father's not feeling well. Perhaps you should come say goodbye. Come see him. If anything happens to him. You'll what? She laughed softly. Tell the police? Like Terry did about Marcus? Or like Noelle tried to about Thomas? Some stories are better left untold, dear. The SUV was still behind me, gaining ground. But don't worry, Francesca continued. I'll take good care of your father, just like I took care of your mother when she started asking too many questions. The phone slipped from my hand. My mother's death hadn't been natural causes. The SUV rammed my back bumper. And now Francesca was coming for the rest of us. I lost the SUV by pulling into a crowded mall parking garage and killing my lights. My hands wouldn't stop shaking as I called Jeremy. Get Dad out of there, I said before he could speak. Now. Already did. We're at my apartment. He's not good. He can barely stand. Call an ambulance. Francesca's been calling non-stop, says she's bringing a private doctor. Don't let her in, I'm on my way. I hesitated. Jeremy, Mom's death wasn't natural. The silence on the other end was deafening. Finally. I know. I found Mom's journal hidden in the study while looking for those documents. She suspected something was wrong. She was going to confront Francesca the day she died. My throat tightened. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want to believe it, but after seeing those bank records, the insurance policies, God be. What have we let into our lives? A text from Wendy lit up my phone. Police won't help without concrete evidence, but I found something in those files you sent. Coming over. I made it to Jeremy's apartment in record time. Dad was sprawled on the couch, his skin grey and clammy. Empty vitamin bottles littered the coffee table. "The ambulance is 5 minutes out," Jeremy said, pacing. "But Francesca's downstairs. Security won't hold her for long." "Dad?" I knelt beside him. "Can you hear me?" His eyes fluttered open. "Beatrice, I'm sorry. I should have listened. Save your strength." I grabbed the vitamin bottles. "The paramedics need to know what was in these." The door buzzed. Wendy's voice came through the intercom. "Let me in quick, Francesca's arguing with security." Jeremy buzzed her up. She burst in, clutching her laptop. "Those documents you sent? I cross-referenced them with Mom's old medical records." She opened her computer. "The symptoms match. Whatever's in those vitamins, it's the same thing that killed her." Dad started coughing violently. Jeremy supported his head while I called down to the front desk. "Don't let anyone up, especially not too late." Wendy was at the window. "She's getting in the elevator." The hallway security camera feed on Jeremy's phone showed Francesca and 2 men, the same ones from the coffee shop, ascending. "Fire escape," Jeremy decided, already moving to help Dad up. "Wait." I grabbed Mum's journal from my bag. "Listen to this. Found F's secret box in garage. Everything's there. Proof about Thomas, about Marcus. Have to tell you before—" I looked up. The entry ends there, the day she died. "The garage?" Jeremy's eyes widened. "Dad's old toolbox is still there. Mum used to hide things in it." Footsteps approached outside, a key scraped in the lock, the emergency master key. "Get Dad to the hospital," I told Jeremy. "I'm going to the house." "You can't," Wendy grabbed my arm. "Those men are focused on finding us here." I headed for the fire escape. "Text me when Dad's safe." The door began to open. I slipped out the window just as Francesca's voice filled the apartment. "Darling, are those sirens I hear?" I made it to my car, unseen. The house was dark when I arrived, but Francesca's car was gone. She was still at Jeremy's. The garage door code hadn't changed since I was 12. Dad's toolbox was buried under holiday decorations. Inside, beneath rusted wrenches and old screwdrivers, was a false bottom. My hands trembled as I pried it open. A small USB drive, a stack of photos, and a letter in my mother's handwriting. "If you're reading this, I'm probably dead." My phone buzzed. "Dad's in ER. Blood tests showing unknown toxins. Police involved now." "Where are you?" "Jeremy." Another text followed. "Get out of there. Francesca's on her way back." "Wendy, I heard a car in the driveway. The connecting door from the garage to the kitchen opened. Noelle stood there, pale and shaking. "Through here," she whispered. "Quick. Why are you helping me?" "Because she killed my husband too." Noelle's eyes were hard. "Thomas was my husband first. She was my best friend. And she took everything." Car doors slammed outside. "Go!" Noelle pushed me toward the back door. "That USB drive, it has banking records, offshore accounts, everything the police need." "Come with me," she shook her head. "Someone has to keep her here. Make her think she's won." The front door opened. Francesca's voice carried through the house. "Noelle, why are all the lights off?" I slipped out just as Noelle called back. "In here, sister dear, just making some tea." My phone lit up one last time as I started my car. Found Mum's autopsy photos on the USB, meeting with detectives tomorrow. End this. "Jeremy," I clutched the evidence to my chest. "I will, Mum, I promise." Behind me, through the kitchen window, I saw Francesca embrace her sister. But even from here, I could see Noelle's hands ball into fists at her sides. The game wasn't over, but now we had proof. And tomorrow everything would change. The hospital waiting room buzzed with fluorescent lights and hushed conversations. Jeremy paced while Wendy and I sorted through Mom's evidence on her laptop. "Dad's stable," Jeremy said, hanging up his phone. "They're running more tests, but the doctor says the poisoning was caught in time." "Look at this," Wendy pointed to her screen. "These offshore transfers. They all happened right before each death. Thomas, Marcus, your mum, and now there are new accounts set up in your dad's name." "The detective's on his way," Jeremy checked his watch, "but we need more than just financial records." My phone buzzed. "Noelle, She's planning something, big family dinner tomorrow night, says she's making things right. Don't trust her. Another text followed. Found something in her office safe, coming to hospital, don't tell anyone. Noelle's bringing more evidence, I told Jeremy. How long until the detective gets here? 20 minutes. He sat down heavily. I can't believe we didn't see it. All those times Mum tried to warn us about Francesca, the elevator dinged. We all looked up, expecting Noelle. Instead, Terry stumbled out, his face bruised and bloody. Jesus! Jeremy caught him as he nearly collapsed. What happened? Francesca's men, Terry coughed. They wanted to know what I told you, but that's not important. He pulled out his phone with shaking hands. I got this from my security camera last night, after they finished with me. The video showed Francesca in Terry's office, rifling through his files. She was on the phone. It's handled. No, he won't talk. The family dinner tomorrow will take care of everything. Yes, all of them. Just like before. She's planning something at the dinner, I said. Something big. Mass poisoning, Wendy suggested. No, Terry shook his head. Too obvious now. She needs it to look accidental. Like Thomas's boating accident or Marcus's disappearance. The elevator dinged again. This time it was Noelle clutching a small red notebook. Her diary, she said, thrusting it at me. Every detail, every plan written in her own hand. She's always kept one. It's her trophy collection. She looked around frantically. Where's the detective? Not here yet. Jeremy checked his phone. But then we need to leave. Now. Noelle's voice shook. She knows I took it. She'll be coming. As if on cue, my phone rang. Francesca. Speaker, Jeremy mouthed. I answered. Hello? Darling. Francesca's voice was silk over steel. I seem to be missing something important, but don't worry, I know exactly where to find it. Stay away from us. Us? She laughed softly. Oh, is my dear sister there too? Noelle always did have a problem with loyalty, just like your mother. We have proof, I said. Everything. The murders, the money. Proof? Another laugh. Like Terry's proof or your mother's? Evidence has a funny way of combusting. Speaking of which, you might want to check on your father's room. Hospitals can be so dangerous. All those oxygen tanks. Electrical equipment. Jeremy was already running toward Dad's room. You won't get away with this, I said. I already have, 3 times before, but I'm feeling generous. Come to dinner tomorrow night. Bring everyone. Jeremy, Wendy, my traitorous sister. Bring your little diary and your USB drives. Let's end this properly. Like you ended things with Thomas, with Marcus. Better. Her voice hardened. Or I could just trigger the fire alarm now. Hospitals are such chaos during evacuations. Anything could happen to a helpless patient. Jeremy came running back. She's got men outside Dad's room. Tick-tock, Beatrice, Francesca said. Dinner's at 7, don't be late. The line went dead. We can't wait for the detective, Noelle said. She's got people everywhere, police, hospital staff. Then we end this now, I stood up. At dinner, her way. That's suicide, Terry protested. No, Jeremy's eyes lit up. It's perfect. She's overconfident, thinks she has us cornered. But if we can get her to confess, with everyone there, I can set up remote recordings, Wendy added. Multiple devices streaming to secure servers. And I know all her tricks, Noelle said. Every poison, every accident she staged. My phone buzzed one last time. Don't forget to dress for dinner, darling. It's a special occasion. Your mother wore such a lovely blue dress the night she died. Perhaps you have something similar. Francesca. Tomorrow night, I said, clutching Mom's diary. We finish this. Be careful, Terry warned. She's never lost before. She's never faced a family she tried to destroy before, Jeremy said. Outside Dad's room, I saw one of Francesca's men watching us. He spoke into a phone, smiling. The game was reaching its end. But this time, we knew all the players. And tomorrow night, only one side would walk away from that dinner table. I wore my mother's blue dress to dinner. Francesca's smile faltered when she opened the door, just for a second, but I caught it. You look just like her, she said, voice dripping honey. Come in, everyone's waiting. The dining room was set for a feast.
Dad sat at the head of the table, still pale but upright, with Jeremy beside him. Wendy and Terry took their seats while Noelle hovered near the kitchen, avoiding her sister's gaze. "Wine?" Francesca lifted a crystal decanter. "I'll pour," Noelle said quickly, taking it from her hands. The sisters locked eyes, a silent battle of wills. "Such a lovely family gathering." Francesca sat at the other end of the table. "Shame about the circumstances." "You mean the poisoning?" I placed Mom's diary on the table. "Or the murders?" "Beatrice," Dad started, but Jeremy squeezed his arm. "Let her talk, Dad. Let's hear what she has to say." Francesca's laugh tinkled like breaking glass. "Murders? My goodness, what an imagination. Though I suppose grief can do strange things to a person's mind. Like Thomas's grief before his boating accident." Noelle's hands shook as she poured wine. "Or Marcus's before he disappeared." "Careful, sister." Francesca's smile turned sharp. "You're still my family." "Like Mom was family?" I pulled out my phone, playing the security footage from Terry's office. Francesca's voice filled the room. "It's handled. The family dinner tomorrow will take care of everything. A recording can be manipulated," she said smoothly. "Just like bank records, insurance policies, even diaries can be forged." "But memories can't," Dad spoke up, his voice stronger than I'd heard in days. "I remember Laura, my wife, telling me something was wrong the day before she died. Darling, you were distraught. I remember the vitamins you gave her." He pushed back from the table. "The same ones you gave me." Francesca's composure cracked just slightly. "Everything I did was for us. This family needed cleaning up. Like you cleaned up Thomas." Noelle slammed the decanter down. "My husband, my best friend. You took everything. He was weak. Like Marcus. Like Laura." Francesca stood, mask finally slipping. "They all asked too many questions, poked too many holes. This family needed a strong hand. We've got it all on tape." Wendy held up her phone. "Live streaming to 3 different servers. And the police have copies of everything," Terry added. "The diary, the bank records." "The police?" Francesca laughed again, but it was brittle now. "You think I don't own half the force? Why do you think they ignored Marcus's disappearance? Thomas's suspicious accident? Not these police." Jeremy nodded toward the dining room windows where red and blue lights suddenly flashed. "Federal agents don't take kindly to multiple murders across state lines." Francesca's face went white. She reached for her purse. "Looking for this." Noelle held up a small revolver. "I found it in your safe, along with letters from Thomas begging for his life." "You were my sister," Francesca snarled. "You were supposed to understand." "I understand that you're a monster." Noelle's voice broke. "That you killed my husband, tried to kill my new family." The front door burst open. Federal agents poured in, weapons drawn. "It's over, Francesca." I stood up. "Mum can rest now." She looked around wildly, then lunged for Dad. "I'll take you all." Jeremy tackled her before she could reach him. She hit the table hard, sending glasses shattering. "Francesca Simmons," an agent stepped forward, handcuffs ready. "You're under arrest for the murders of Thomas Wright, Marcus Peters, and Laura Ryan, and the attempted murder of Ulysses Ryan." As they led her away, she turned back one last time. "I made this family perfect." "No," Dad said, standing with Jeremy's help. "You destroyed a family. My wife, my Laura. She made it perfect." Francesca screamed as they took her out. In the chaos, I felt Dad's hand on my shoulder. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I should have seen it, should have listened." "We all should have," Jeremy said. Noelle handed the gun to an agent, her hands still shaking. "It's really over." "Almost." Wendy was checking her phone. "They found Marcus's body, where she said it would be in the diary, and they're reopening Thomas's case." Outside, Francesca's screams faded as the police cars pulled away. Dad walked to the wall where Mom's pictures used to hang. "We'll put them back up," he said quietly. "All of them. Laura should never have been taken down." I touched my mother's blue dress, feeling closer to her than I had in years. "She's still here, Dad. She helped us see the truth." The federal agents finished gathering evidence, leaving us in the wreckage of Francesca's final dinner party. But as I looked around at my real family, Dad, Jeremy, Wendy, even Noelle and Terry, I knew we'd rebuild. Mom's diary lay open on the table, her final warning finally heard, her final case finally solved, and her family, finally, truly safe. The morning sun streamed through the windows as I helped Dad hang Mom's last photograph, her favourite, showing all of us at the beach. Her smile radiated from the frame, bringing warmth back to the house that had felt cold for so long. "Perfect," Dad said, stepping back. He looked healthier now, the colour returned to his face. She always knew exactly where everything should go. The doorbell rang. Jeremy walked in with a stack of newspapers. "You made the front page again," he told me, spreading them on the coffee table. The headlines screamed, "Black Widow Killer Convicted," and "Justice for 3 Families." "The DA called," he continued. "Francesca's facing 3 life sentences, no possibility of parole." 4, actually. Noelle entered through the open door, carrying a box of old photos. They found evidence linking her to another death in Florida, before Thomas. Dad sank into his armchair, Mum's old reading chair that we'd brought back from storage. "I still can't believe I let her fool me so completely." "She fooled everyone," I said, but he shook his head. "Not your mother, and not you." He picked up one of the newspapers. "You fought for the truth just like Laura would have." Wendy arrived with Terry carrying boxes of their own. We'd been slowly restoring the house, bringing back pieces of our history that Francesca had tried to erase. "Found these in the evidence lockup." Terry set down his box. "The police said we could have them back now that the trial's over." Inside were Mom's journals. Not just the one that helped convict Francesca, but all of them. Years of memories, observations, and love for her family, written in her familiar handwriting. "Look at this," Wendy pulled out a photo album. "Your mom kept records of everything. She knew something was wrong with Francesca from the start. She was protecting us," Jeremy said, flipping through one of the journals. Even after Francesca, even after I killed her." A cold voice came from the doorway. We all spun around. Francesca stood there in handcuffs, flanked by federal agents. Her designer clothes were replaced by an orange jumpsuit, her perfect makeup gone. "Sorry to interrupt," one agent said. "She insisted on retrieving personal items before being transferred to federal prison. We'll be quick. Nothing here belongs to you." Dad stood up, stronger than I'd seen him in months. "No?" Francesca's eyes darted around the room, taking in Mom's restored photos, the recovered mementos. "I made this house mine. This family mine." "You never had us," I said. "Mom made sure of that." "Your precious mother," she spat. "So perfect, so observant. Did she observe the poison in her coffee? Did she know what was happening when her heart—" "That's enough," the agent pulled her toward the stairs. "Get what you came for." "I already have what I came for," Francesca smiled, but it was empty now. One last look at my greatest failure, the family I couldn't break. As they led her away, she called back, "Enjoy your memories. They're all you have left." "No," Noelle spoke up, surprising us all. "They have justice, they have truth, and they have each other. That's more than you ever had, sister." The door closed behind them. We stood in silence until the police cars drove away. "She's wrong, you know." Wendy picked up one of Mom's journals. "Memories aren't all you have left. You have Laura's strength, her love, her warning that saved your lives." Dad walked to Mom's photograph, touching it gently. "She's still protecting us, still keeping us together." "And now everyone knows the truth," Terry added. "About Thomas, about Marcus. Their families can heal too." I opened Mom's journal to her last entry, the one that started this whole journey. "My dearest family, if you're reading this, stay strong, stay together. The truth will always find its way home." "Home," Jeremy echoed, looking around at the restored house, at Mom's photos watching over us. "It finally feels like home again." Dad gathered us all in front of Mom's favourite photograph. Wendy set up her camera timer. "Laura always insisted on family photos," he said. "Said they captured more than just moments. They captured love." The camera flashed, catching us all. Dad, Jeremy, me, Wendy, Terry, even Noelle, surrounded by Mum's restored presence. Not just in photographs and journals, but in the strength she gave us, the truth she helped us uncover, and the family she protected until the very end. Outside, spring flowers bloomed in Mum's garden, which we'd started restoring. Her favourite roses were budding again, reaching for the sun. Life was returning to our home. Truth had won over lies. Love had won over hate. And Mom's legacy lived on, in every corner, in every heart, in every moment of justice finally served. We were her final victory.
The message wasn't meant for me. I know that now. But when I picked up Sean's phone to silence the endless buzzing while he showered, I saw Malia's name flash across the screen. My cousin's voice filled our bedroom, thinking she was leaving a message for my husband. Hey baby, last night was amazing. I love how we can laugh about her together. Poor clueless Gianna. Always so focused on work she can't even see what's happening right under her nose. My hands didn't shake. My world crumbled, but somehow I remained standing. I'm Gianna Ross, and this is how I discovered my husband and cousin's betrayal. I deleted the message and placed the phone exactly where I found it. Then I went downstairs and made coffee like it was any other morning. When Sean came down, hair still damp, I handed him his usual cup. Thanks, babe, he said, kissing my cheek. You're always taking care of me. I smiled, imagining all the ways I could destroy him. Someone has to. That evening, I stayed late at the office, telling Sean I had a deadline. Instead, I sat in my car outside Malia's apartment building, watching my husband's familiar silhouette move behind her curtains. Their shadows merged, and I gripped my steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. Mrs. Dixon? A tap on my window startled me. Leon, our company's newest financial analyst, stood there looking concerned. Everything okay? I rolled down the window, forcing a smile. Just Leon, please. And yes, I'm fine. Just thinking. He glanced at the building, then back at me. Understanding flickered across his face. Would you like to grab a coffee? There's a place around the corner that stays open late. Over steaming cups of overpriced coffee, I found myself telling Leon everything. He listened without judgment, his dark eyes serious. You know, he said finally, your grandmother's been talking about succession plans for the company. I wrapped my hands around my cup. Aurora's mentioned it, yes. She watches everything, Gianna. She sees who puts in the work, who has the company's best interests at heart. He paused. And who doesn't? 2 days later, I attended a family dinner at Aurora's mansion. Sean and Malia were there, of course. They played their parts perfectly. My devoted husband, my loving cousin. But now I could see the lingering glances, the subtle touches, the inside jokes. Gianna, darling, Aurora called from the head of the table. Tell everyone about the Morrison contract you landed. Before I could answer, Malia cut in. Oh, Auntie, let's not talk business at dinner. It's so boring. I caught Aurora's sharp look at Malia's interruption. On the contrary, my grandmother said, I find my company's future fascinating. Please continue, Gianna. As I detailed the multi-million-dollar deal I'd secured, I watched Sean and Malia exchange glances. They thought I was oblivious, caught up in spreadsheets and meetings while they carried on their affair. They had no idea I could hear them whispering in the kitchen later. She's so cold, Malia said. All she cares about is work. No wonder you came looking for something warmer. Sean's laugh felt like acid in my ears. She makes it too easy. Sometimes I think she'd rather sleep with her laptop than me. I stepped into the kitchen, making them jump apart. Sean, ready to head home? I have an early meeting tomorrow. He smiled that charming smile that used to make my heart race. Sure, babe, whatever you need. That night, as Sean slept beside me, I opened my laptop and began gathering information. Every email, every transaction, every piece of dirt I could find on both of them. I worked until dawn, my determination growing with each discovery. My phone buzzed. A message from Leon. Found something interesting in the quarterly reports. Malia's department numbers don't add up. Coffee? I smiled, thinking of Aurora's words at dinner. The company's future was fascinating indeed, and I was just getting started. Looking at Sean's peaceful face, I felt nothing but cold resolve. Let them think I was weak. Let them believe I was blind. I'd show them just how focused I could be, not just on spreadsheets, but on justice. I got up quietly and dressed for work, leaving before Sean woke. In my car, I caught my reflection in the rearview mirror. The woman staring back wasn't a victim. She was a force to be reckoned with, and she was done playing nice. Aurora's garden had always been her sanctuary, and lately it had become mine too. Every Saturday morning, I'd join her among the roses, helping her tend to the blooms while Sean slept in, probably dreaming of Malia. "The white roses need extra attention," Aurora said, carefully pruning a stem. "They're delicate but resilient, rather like you, my dear." I looked up from the flower bed I was weeding. "I'm not sure about delicate." "No?" She set down her shears and fixed me with that penetrating gaze. "Then tell me why you've been spending your evenings at the office instead of confronting that husband of yours." My hands froze in the dirt. "You know? I'm old, Gianna, not blind." She patted the bench beside her. "Come sit with me." As I settled next to her, she took my hand in her weathered one. "Did you think I wouldn't notice how Malia looks at him? How he finds every excuse to be where she is?" "I didn't want to cause drama," I admitted. The company is exactly why you need to be strong now." Aurora's grip tightened. "Tell me what you found." I told her everything. The message, the late nights, and what Leon had discovered about Malia's department finances. Aurora listened, her face growing harder with each detail. "Interesting," she said when I finished. "And what do you plan to do about it?" Before I could answer, voices drifted from the house. Sean and Malia appeared on the patio, looking surprised to find us in the garden. "Grandmother." Malia rushed over, all smiles. "I didn't know you had company. I just stopped by to discuss the charity gala arrangements." "With Sean?" Aurora's voice could have frozen hell. Sean stepped forward, smooth as ever. "I offered to help with the heavy lifting. You know, decorations and such." "How thoughtful," Aurora said. "Gianna, darling, would you fetch my folder from my study? The one marked succession planning?" I felt Malia and Sean's eyes on me as I walked to the house. In Aurora's study, I found the folder right on her desk, as if she'd left it there deliberately. Inside were documents detailing the company's leadership structure, with my name highlighted throughout. When I returned, Aurora was explaining company history to an obviously bored Malia. "Your great-grandfather built this company on trust and loyalty. Wouldn't you agree those are important values, Sean?" Sean shifted uncomfortably. "Of course, Aurora." "Gianna understands these values," Aurora continued, taking the folder from me. "She's proven herself time and again." Malia's smile faltered. "We all work hard for the company, Auntie." "Do you?" Aurora opened the folder. "These quarterly reports suggest otherwise." The color drained from Malia's face. Sean stepped closer to her, then caught himself. "I should go," Malia stammered. "The gala arrangements will be handled by someone else," Aurora finished. "Gianna will take over the charity division. Won't you, dear?" I met Malia's shocked stare. "Happy to help." After they left, Aurora turned to me. "The company needs strong leadership, Gianna. Someone who can make difficult decisions. Someone who understands that personal feelings must sometimes be set aside for the greater good." "Like you did?" I asked softly. She smiled. "You know about Thomas, then? Your late husband's brother? Leon mentioned something about a similar situation 30 years ago. Thomas thought he could take what was mine." Aurora's eyes hardened. "He learned otherwise, just as others will learn." She stood, brushing soil from her gardening gloves. "There's a board meeting next week. I think it's time for some announcements." "Aurora?" I hesitated. "Are you sure?" "About you?" "Entirely." She cupped my cheek. "You're ready, even if you don't know it yet. That evening, I received a text from Malia. We need to talk. About the company. About everything." I showed the message to Leon over dinner at our usual coffee shop. "She's scared," he said. "They both are. You should have seen their faces when Aurora mentioned succession planning." I stirred my coffee, watching the cream create patterns. "Good. What will you do when Malia wants to meet?" I thought about Aurora's white roses, delicate but resilient. "I'll listen, and then I'll do what needs to be done." Leon raised his cup. "To difficult decisions?" I clinked my cup against his. "To the greater good." Later, as I walked into my empty house, my phone buzzed with another message. This one from Aurora. "The board meeting has been moved up. Tuesday. Be ready." I was ready. Ready to show them all exactly what this clueless, work-focused woman could do. The weekend before the board meeting, I buried myself in work at the office, reviewing every document Leon had gathered. Krista, our head of operations, found me there Sunday morning, surrounded by papers and empty coffee cups. "I brought reinforcements," she said, placing a fresh latte and a stack of files on my desk. "And information." I looked up. "About?" "About your cousin's creative accounting." Krista sat down, her face grim. "It's worse than we thought. She's been siphoning funds from the charity division for months." "Show me." She spread out documents across my desk, pointing to highlighted figures. "See these donations? They never reached their intended recipients. Instead, they went to shell companies. Guess who owns them?" "Malia?" "Close. Her lover." Krista's eyes met mine. "Your husband." The latte turned bitter in my mouth. "You have proof?" "Everything's here. Bank transfers, incorporation documents, even emails between them discussing the scheme." She paused. "They got sloppy, thinking no one was watching." A knock at the door made us both jump. Leon entered, looking worried. "Gianna, Malia's downstairs. Says she won't leave until she talks to you." I gathered the documents into a folder. "Perfect timing. Send her up." Krista touched my arm. "Want us to stay?" "No, but keep your phones on." Malia swept in moments later, designer purse swinging. Her confident stride faltered when she saw the papers on my desk. "Working weekends again?" Her laugh sounded forced. "You never change." "What do you want, Malia?" She sat down uninvited. "To clear the air. This tension between us, it's not good for the family. For the company." "You mean it's not good for you?" "Don't be like that." She leaned forward. "Look, I know things are complicated, but we can fix this. Together." I opened the folder Krista had brought. "Like you fixed the charity division's finances?" Her face paled. "What are you talking about?" "Shell companies, Malia?" "Really?" I slid a document across the desk. "Did you think no one would notice?" "Those are confidential. They're evidence." I stood up. "Evidence of fraud, embezzlement, and breach of trust. How do you think the board will react?" She jumped to her feet. "You wouldn't dare. It would destroy the company's reputation. Unless we come to an arrangement." Her composure returned slightly. I stepped down quietly. Take a position at another firm. No scandal, no shame for the family. "And Sean?" Her smile turned cruel. "He made his choice, Gianna. Maybe if you'd been a better wife." My laugh cut her off. "Better at what? Turning a blind eye to theft? Playing along while you two made a fool of me?" "We can all walk away from this," she said. "Think about it. I'll tell Aurora I'm pursuing other opportunities. Sean will transfer to our overseas office. Everyone saves face." My phone buzzed. A message from Leon. "Aurora's here. She wants to see both of you." "Perfect timing," I said, gathering the files. "Shall we visit grandmother together?" We found Aurora in her office, Leon and Krista already there. My grandmother sat regally behind her desk, looking every inch the CEO. "Sit," she commanded. Malia started speaking immediately. "Auntie, I can explain." Silence. Aurora's voice cracked like a whip. "Gianna, the documents?" I handed over the folder. Aurora reviewed its contents while Malia squirmed in her chair. "Well," Aurora said finally, "it seems the board meeting tomorrow will be even more interesting than planned." "Please," Malia whispered. "Don't do this." "Do what? Protect my company? Protect my true family?" Aurora's eyes blazed. "You had every advantage, every opportunity. And this is how you repay that trust?" Tears spilled down Malia's cheeks. "I never meant to get caught," I finished. "That's the only thing you're sorry about." Aurora pressed a button on her phone. "Security will escort you out, Malia. Don't return without a lawyer." As Malia was led away, Aurora turned to me. "Are you ready for tomorrow?" "Yes." "Good." She smiled. "Because after the board meeting, you'll need to have a similar conversation with your husband." I thought of Sean, probably waiting at Malia's apartment for news of her attempted negotiation. I'm looking forward to it. Later, as Leon drove me home, he asked, "How are you holding up?" I watched the city lights blur past. I feel lighter, like I've been carrying this weight, and it's finally lifting. The hard part's still coming. "No," I said, thinking of tomorrow's meeting. "The hard part was pretending to be weak. Everything else is just justice." My phone buzzed with a message from Sean. "Where are you? We need to talk." I typed back, "Yes, we do. Tomorrow, after the board meeting." Justice was coming, and it would be served in the boardroom. The boardroom buzzed with tension as executives filed in. Sean sat near the middle, checking his phone every few seconds. Malia's seat remained conspicuously empty. I took my place beside Aurora, ignoring the questioning glances from board members. "Where's Malia?" someone whispered. "Indisposed," Aurora answered, her voice carrying across the room. "Now, shall we begin?" Krista distributed folders to each member while Leon queued up the presentation. I caught Sean's eye as he opened his folder. His face went ash white. "Before we discuss quarterly results," Aurora began, "I have several announcements regarding leadership changes." Sean's hand shot up. "Excuse me, Aurora, but shouldn't we wait for all department heads to be present? The relevant parties are here." Aurora's smile could have frozen fire. "As I was saying, changes are coming. First, effective immediately, Malia is no longer with the company." Murmurs rippled through the room. Sean gripped his armrests. "Second," Aurora continued, "our internal audit has uncovered significant irregularities in the charity division's finances. The details are in your folders, along with the steps we're taking to address these issues." Board members flipped through pages, gasps and whispers growing louder. Sean started to stand. "Sit down, Mr. Dixon," Aurora commanded. "We're not finished." He sank back into his chair, sweat visible on his forehead. "Finally," Aurora's voice softened as she turned to me. "I'm announcing my retirement as CEO, effective next month." The room erupted in shocked exclamations. Aurora raised her hand for silence. "My successor has already been chosen. Someone who has demonstrated unwavering loyalty, exceptional business acumen, and most importantly, integrity." She placed her hand on my shoulder. "My granddaughter, Gianna." Sean jumped to his feet. "This is ridiculous. She's not qualified." "Sit down," I said quietly. "Unless you'd like to discuss qualifications, like your involvement in embezzling charity funds." He froze, eyes darting between me and the door. "Security is outside," Leon added helpfully, in case anyone feels the need to leave abruptly. The next hour passed in a blur of congratulations and questions. I answered each one clearly, confidently, while Sean slumped in his chair, defeated. When Aurora finally dismissed the board, he tried to rush out. "Mr. Dixon," I called. "A moment, please." The room emptied except for us, Leon and Krista. Sean stood by the door, looking like a cornered animal. "How long have you known?" he asked. "Long enough." I opened my laptop. "Would you like to see the evidence? The messages? The bank transfers? Or should we skip to the part where you sign these?" I slid divorce papers across the table. "You can't prove anything," he said, but his voice shook. Krista stepped forward. Actually, we can prove everything. The DA's office is very interested in your shell companies. You'd do that? He stared at me. Send me to prison? You did that to yourself. I pushed the papers closer. Sign, and maybe we can arrange a deal. Refuse, and I'll let the prosecutors handle it. His hand trembled as he picked up the pen. I never meant to hurt you. Yes, you did. I watched him sign. You and Malia thought it was funny, remember? Poor, clueless Gianna, too focused on work to see what was happening. We were wrong, he whispered. Yes, you were. I gathered the papers. Security will escort you out. Don't come back. After he left, Leon squeezed my shoulder. You okay? Better than okay. I looked around the boardroom. My boardroom now. I'm exactly where I need to be. My phone buzzed with a message from Malia. This isn't over. I know things about the family, about Aurora, things that could ruin everything. I showed the message to Aurora, who laughed. Let her try. Every family has secrets, but not every family has proof of criminal activity. What do we do now? Krista asked. Now? I sat in the CEO's chair. My chair. Now we clean house. Every corrupt deal, every questionable transaction, everything they touched gets reviewed. And Malia's threats? Leon asked. Let her make them. I thought of the white roses in Aurora's garden. Some things need to be pruned for the garden to thrive. Aurora patted my hand. I knew I chose well. That evening, as I packed up Sean's things, another message arrived. You'll regret this. Both of you will. I smiled, thinking of tomorrow's headlines. Ross Industries announces new CEO amid financial scandal. Let them threaten. Let them scheme. I wasn't hiding anymore. I was ready to show them exactly what happens when you underestimate the woman behind the spreadsheets. The media storm hit exactly as expected. By morning, my face was plastered across business news channels, with headlines screaming about scandal and succession. I watched from my office as reporters camped outside the building, hungry for more details. Your 9 o'clock is here, my assistant announced through the intercom. Send them in. Sean walked in, looking disheveled, a far cry from his usual polished appearance. Gianna, please, we need to talk. About what? I kept my eyes on my laptop. The divorce papers are signed. About us, about everything. He sat down uninvited. I made a mistake, a huge mistake, but we can fix this. I finally looked at him. Fix what? Your impending fraud charges? Or the fact that you and Malia stole from children's charities? That was her idea, he said quickly. She convinced me to commit crimes. I laughed. How convenient. I'll testify against her. Tell them everything. He leaned forward. Just help me, for old time's sake. A knock interrupted his plea. Leon entered with a stack of documents. Sorry to interrupt, he said, not sounding sorry at all. But we found something interesting in the overseas accounts. Sean's face went pale. What overseas accounts? The ones in Singapore, I said. Did you think we wouldn't find those too? You can't what? Report international financial fraud? Pretty sure I can. I stood up. In fact, I already have. His composure cracked. You bitch, you've ruined everything. Security, I called calmly. 2 guards appeared instantly. As they escorted Sean out, he shouted, Malia was right about you. You're just like your grandmother. Cold, calculating. Successful? I finished as the doors closed. Leon whistled low. That was intense. That was necessary. I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from Malia. Any word from our other problem? She's been trying to schedule meetings with board members. No takers so far. He grinned. Apparently, no one wants to associate with someone under federal investigation. My phone buzzed again. Aurora this time. Come to the house. Bring the Singapore files. I found Aurora in her study, looking through old photographs. She held one up as I entered, a younger version of herself standing in front of the company building. They called me cold back then, too, she said. When I took over from your grandfather, said a woman couldn't handle it. Look how that turned out. She smiled. Indeed. Now show me what you found. I spread out the Singapore documents. Sean was smarter than we thought. He had backup accounts separate from Malia's scheme. And I've frozen all of them. I showed her the court orders. He's broke. They both are. Aurora nodded approvingly. Good. But Malia's threats are empty, Leon said from the doorway. Sorry to interrupt, but you need to see this. He played a video on his tablet, Malia giving an interview to a local news station. She was crying, claiming family betrayal and wrongful termination. She's desperate, I said. She's dangerous, Aurora corrected. Desperate people do desperate things. My phone chimed with a message from Krista. Emergency at the office. Board members calling for an immediate meeting. Perfect timing, Aurora said. Ready to show them what you're made of? The boardroom was chaos when we arrived. Board members argued amongst themselves while Krista tried to maintain order. Enough. My voice cut through the noise. What's the emergency? This, someone said, sliding a tablet across the table. On screen was an old article about Aurora's takeover 30 years ago. Below it, anonymous comments alleged family betrayals, secret deals, and questionable methods. Malia's handiwork? Leon whispered. I smiled. Is this the emergency? Old gossip and anonymous accusations? Your grandmother, one board member began, built this company into what it is today. I finished, and I'm about to make it even stronger. I plugged my laptop into the projector. Now, let me show you my plans for the next quarter, unless you'd rather discuss ancient history. For the next hour, I laid out strategies, innovations, and growth projections. By the end, even the most skeptical board members were nodding along. Any questions? I asked finally. Silence. Good, because we have work to do. Later, as Leon drove me home, he asked, Think that's the end of it? No, I said, reading another threatening message from Malia. But the next move is hers. And then I thought of the Singapore accounts, of Sean's desperate plea, of Malia's tearful interview. And then I finished what they started. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served in quarterly reports and profit margins. And I was just getting started. Krista burst into my office without knocking, her face flushed with excitement. You need to see this. Now. She dropped a folder on my desk labeled Charity Division Restricted Access. What am I looking at? I asked, flipping it open. The smoking gun. She pointed to a series of signatures. Malia wasn't just stealing from the charities. She was selling company secrets to our competitors. I sat up straighter. Proof? Emails, meeting recordings, everything. Krista pulled out her tablet. But here's the best part. Listen to this. She played an audio file. Malia's voice filled the room. Of course I can get you those patents. My cousin's too busy playing CEO to notice what's happening in R&D. Just make sure the payment goes through the usual channel. When was this recorded? Yesterday. Krista's smile was fierce. She's still at it, even after everything. My phone buzzed. Leon. Emergency. Aurora's office. Now. We found Aurora at her desk, looking grimmer than I'd ever seen her. Leon stood nearby, holding a newspaper. What's wrong? I asked. Leon handed me the paper. The headline made my blood run cold. Ross Industries Scandal Deepens. Former CEO accused of corporate espionage. Malia's latest attack. Aurora said quietly. She's claiming I stole company secrets during my takeover 30 years ago. Says she has proof. Does she? No. Leon cut in. But she has something else. Something worse. He played a video on his laptop. Malia sat in what looked like a news studio, composed and professional. "I have evidence," she said smoothly, "that Aurora Ross orchestrated her own brother's death to gain control of the company. And now her granddaughter is following in her footsteps, destroying lives to maintain power." The room fell silent. Aurora's hands trembled slightly. "It's a lie," she whispered. "Thomas died in a car accident. We know," I said firmly. "But we need to handle this carefully." My phone rang. Sean's number. I answered on speaker. "Call off your attack dog," he demanded. "The SEC is investigating me because of your accusations." "You mean because of your crimes?" I corrected. "I'll back Malia's story," he threatened. "Tell everyone how you and Aurora planned this whole thing, how you set us up." Krista cleared her throat. "Actually, Mr. Dixon, I'd reconsider that. We have some interesting recordings of your own recent activities." She played the audio file. Sean's voice died mid-threat. "That's blackmail," he sputtered. "No," I said. "That's karma. Now, unless you want the SEC to hear about your latest scheme, I suggest you stop talking to reporters." After hanging up, I turned to Aurora. "We need to end this. Today." "How?" Leon asked. I pulled out my phone and dialed Malia's number, putting it on speaker. She answered on the first ring. "Finally ready to negotiate?" "Come to the office," I said. 1 hour. Bring your evidence." "All of it?" She sounded smug. "Every last lie. It's time we settled this." After hanging up, Krista raised an eyebrow. "You have a plan?" "Always." I turned to Aurora. "But I need your trust. Completely." She reached for my hand. "You've had that since the beginning." For the next hour, we prepared. Leon gathered security footage. Krista organized financial records. Aurora made some calls. At exactly 1 hour, my assistant announced Malia's arrival. She walked in like she owned the place, designer handbag swinging. "Ready to beg for mercy?" she asked. I gestured to the chair across from me. "Ready to tell the truth?" She sat down, pulling out a folder. "Here's my truth. Your grandmother murdered my father. You stole my position, and now you're going to prison," I finished. Her smile faltered. "What?" I pressed a button on my desk. The door opened, revealing 2 FBI agents. "Corporate espionage is a federal crime," I said as Malia's face drained of color. "So is conspiracy to commit fraud. Would you like to see your truth?" The agent stepped forward as I played Krista's recording. Malia lunged for her bag, but Leon was faster. "The patents you tried to sell?" I continued. "They were fakes. We've been tracking your moves for weeks." "You can't," she started. "Can't what? Protect my company? My family?" I stood up. "You should have remembered something, Malia. I learned from the best." As the agents led her away, she screamed, "You're just like her. A cold-hearted bit." The door closed, cutting off her words. Leon whistled. "That was justice," I finished. "Now let's clean up this mess. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just about winning, it's about making sure they never forget who beat them." And Malia would have plenty of time to remember in federal prison. The news of Malia's arrest exploded across media channels. I watched from my office as reporters swarmed the building entrance, hungry for comments. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since morning. "Your 3 o'clock is here," my assistant announced. Sean walked in, looking nothing like the confident man who'd once shared my bed. His suit was wrinkled, his eyes haunted. "I can explain everything," he started. "Save it." I motioned to the chair. "Sit." He sat, hands fidgeting. "The FBI questioned me for hours, about Malia, about the money, about the evidence you promised to give them," I interrupted. His head snapped up. "How did you know you turned informant?" I smiled. "Who do you think suggested it to them?" Leon entered, carrying a thick folder. "Everything's ready." "Perfect timing." I opened the folder. So, Sean, let's discuss your immunity deal. What immunity deal? The one you're about to sign. I slid papers across the desk. In exchange for your full testimony against Malia and her contacts. He grabbed the papers, reading frantically. This would keep me out of prison? Mostly, Leon said. You'll still face penalties, but no jail time. Why would you help me? I leaned forward. Because watching you testify against your lover will be so much more satisfying than watching you rot in prison. His hands shook as he signed. What happens now? Now? I pressed the intercom. Now you tell everything to them. 2 federal agents entered. Sean's face went pale. Remember? I said as they led him out. Every detail. Every meeting, every transaction. Don't leave anything out. After they left, Leon whistled. Brutal. Necessary. I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from Aurora. How's the press handling it? See for yourself. He turned on the TV. Malia's arrest footage played on repeat, followed by clips of Sean entering the federal building. Ross Industries CEO uncovers major financial scandal. The headline read. My phone buzzed again. Krista this time. Emergency board meeting called. They're demanding answers. Good. I gathered my files. Time to end this. The boardroom was packed when I arrived. Board members whispered among themselves, papers rustling nervously. Ladies and gentlemen, I began, you've all seen the news. Now let me tell you the truth. For the next hour, I laid out everything. The fraud, the attempted corporate espionage, the international accounts. With each revelation, the whispers died down. Questions? I asked finally. One board member raised his hand. The accusations against Aurora were lies. I projected documents onto the screen. Here's proof of Thomas's accident. Medical reports, police statements, everything Malia claimed didn't exist. And the company's reputation? I smiled. Will be stronger than ever. Nothing builds trust like exposing corruption from within. The room fell silent. Then, slowly, heads began nodding. Well done, someone said softly. I turned. Aurora stood in the doorway looking proud. Meeting adjourned, I announced. As the room emptied, Aurora approached. You handled that perfectly. I learned from the best. Did you? She touched my arm. Then you know this isn't over. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You think you've won? I still have 1 card left to play. Check tomorrow's papers. Malia's final threat, I said, showing Aurora. She laughed. Let her try. We have something she doesn't. What's that? The truth. She squeezed my hand. And each other. Later that evening, as I packed up my office, Leon brought coffee. Heard from our friends at the FBI, he said. Sean's singing like a bird. Named every contact, every deal. And Malia? Still threatening to reveal family secrets. He paused. Think she actually has any? I thought of Aurora's strength, of the lessons she'd taught me. Doesn't matter. We have something better. Yeah? What's that? Tomorrow. I picked up my bag. Want to watch me destroy what's left of their world? He grinned. Wouldn't miss it. My phone buzzed one last time. Another unknown number. You're just like your grandmother. This isn't over. I smiled, thinking of Aurora's white roses. Strong, beautiful, and absolutely lethal when underestimated. No, I whispered. It's not over. It's just beginning. Because tomorrow I would show them exactly what it means to be my grandmother's granddaughter. And they would never forget it. The morning papers landed on my desk with a satisfying thud. Malia's promised bombshell had turned into her final implosion. Instead of family secrets, the headlines screamed about her complete confession, detailing every crime, every scheme, every betrayal. Quite a read, Leon said, bringing coffee. Especially the part about Sean's testimony. Did you see page 6? I handed him the paper. Apparently, my soon-to-be ex-husband broke down crying during his deposition. My phone lit up. Aurora calling. Turn on the news, now. The TV flickered to life just in time to catch Malia being led from the courthouse in handcuffs. Her designer outfit had been replaced by prison orange, her confident smirk by desperate tears. I was protecting the family, she screamed at the cameras. Aurora's the real criminal, The reporter cut in. Ms. Townsend's allegations against former CEO Aurora Ross have been thoroughly discredited, with evidence showing her claims were fabricated to cover up her own crimes. Krista burst into the office. You need to see this email. She thrust her tablet at me. On screen was a message from Malia, sent to every board member. Final offer. $10 million to keep quiet about what really happened 30 years ago. She doesn't give up, does she? Leon muttered. No, I said, standing. But I do. I pressed the intercom. Call a press conference, 1 hour. The company atrium filled quickly, reporters, employees, board members. Aurora sat in the front row, elegant as ever. I took the podium, cameras flashing. You've all read the headlines, I began. About fraud, betrayal, and family secrets. So let me tell you a real secret. The room hushed. 30 years ago, my grandmother took control of this company not through murder or manipulation, but through dedication and brilliance. The same values she taught me. The same values that helped us uncover recent crimes. I gestured to the screens behind me, showing documentation of Malia and Sean's schemes. But this isn't about the past. It's about the future. Today, I'm announcing a complete restructuring of our charity division. Every penny stolen will be repaid. Every program strengthened, every promise kept. Applause broke out. I raised my hand for silence. And to those who thought they could destroy us with lies and threats? I smiled directly into the cameras, knowing Malia would be watching from her cell. Thank you. You taught us exactly who not to be. The room erupted in cheers. As I stepped down, Aurora embraced me. Perfect, she whispered. Absolutely perfect. My phone buzzed. A message from Sean's lawyer. Divorce papers finalized. He relinquishes all claims. Another buzz. The FBI. Ms. Townsend requests one final meeting. Going to see her? Leon asked. I deleted the message. Nothing left to say. Later that evening, I found Aurora in her garden, tending her white roses. Remember what you said about these? She asked. About them being delicate but resilient? Like me, you said. She smiled. No, like us. She cut a perfect bloom, handing it to me. Beautiful, strong, and absolutely lethal when threatened. I learned from the best. You did more than learn. She touched my cheek. You improved on every lesson. My phone buzzed one last time. A news alert. Malia Townsend sentenced. 15 years for corporate fraud. Was it worth it? Aurora asked softly. The pain? The betrayal? I looked around at the garden, thinking of everything that had led to this moment. The discovery of Sean's affair. Malia's smugness. Their certainty that I was too weak, too focused on work to fight back. Every second, I said. Because sometimes revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. It's about becoming so powerful they destroy themselves trying to tear you down. The board wants to discuss expansion plans, I said, standing, ready to watch me build something even bigger? Aurora linked her arm through mine. Lead the way. As we walked inside, I caught my reflection in the window. The woman staring back wasn't a victim anymore. She wasn't even just a survivor. She was a force of nature, shaped by betrayal, but not broken by it. Strengthened by pain, but not hardened against love. Ready to create something magnificent from the ashes of destruction. And she was just getting started. Because the best revenge isn't just about winning the game. It's about changing the rules entirely. And that's exactly what I plan to do. Starting now.